Okay. Okay. Good morning to all of you. So we are starting with climatology, and this lecture is also open on YouTube. So those who are watching can definitely give your comments if you want. Okay. So in fact, interestingly enough, when we were thinking about the tag of what should be essentially the title of the class today, I put the title of the class to be Climatology, the love triangle of physical geography, and the love triangle of physical geography. So this title is very, very suitable because this is actually what is happening. So what is happening right now is something like this. If we look into physical geography, we know that physical geography has geomorphology, then there is the topic of climatology, there is the topic of oceanography, there is then biogeography, and there is finally there is environmental geography. So there are 5 topics which are mentioned in the syllabus. Now, of the total preparation time of a student, we find that a student is spending almost 70% of the time in preparation of physical geography, which of whatever time the students are devoting for geography optional, they are devoting almost 70% of the time, which is very skewed to say the least. And obviously you can understand that it is not what is desirable, because we have seen that human geography actually forms the majority in the syllabus. Physical geography is just 35% of the syllabus. In fact, if I choose to attempt only one question of the choice type questions, if I choose to attempt only one question from section, if you talk about A, then it will be even lesser. Then its weightage would become 30%. So it is a totally reverse approach which majority of the students are following. And partly this is one of the reasons why they are unable to do well in geography. Because most of the time you spend time in physical geography, and again you are not so much comfortable in human geography, which is comparatively more easier and comparatively more relevant from the overall examination point of view. So that is the nature of physical geography, or the time that is being spent in physical geography. Now, in physical geography, there is one topic where students are spending most of the time, and it is geomorphology. So on an average, out of the total time spent in the preparation of physical geography, so out of this 70%, if we take this 70% to be this figure, then almost 40% of the time is spent in geomorphology, and 30% of the time is spent in preparation of rest of the physical geography topics. And this is a very, very, I don't know what to say. It is a bad strategy. Very, very bad strategy, in fact. It is a paradox. It tells me that students don't even have proper understanding of the syllabus, proper understanding of the PYQs, how they have been asked. And this is across the UPSC preparation. Tell me, if we look into outside geography optional, if we look into GS, have you seen the previous year questions of GS? And tell me, can I say, don't you find that every year, almost if I talk about prelims, every year, don't you think that there is almost one or two questions from climatology? Every year it is. Like, for example, I remember one of the questions which was asked this year about the contrast of temperature between the continents and the oceans. So again, that question belonged to where? It belonged to climatology. So every year you will be finding same thing. If you look into the mains GS paper, you will find every year at least one question is coming from climatology. So there is a huge relevance of this topic of climatology. In fact, you can understand one of the topics we will see in climatology is the role and response of humans in climate change. So can I say climate change or global warming is a hot theme today? And this theme, if you talk about, has huge relevance even outside climatology. This theme is important to understand various dimensions of the society, what impact the climates will have or the climate change will have on the various aspects of the society. So again, there is very, if you talk about relevance, strong relevance of this topic. Same thing with oceanography. You will find, tell me, have you seen the previous year questions? And if you see, have you found questions, many questions coming on ocean currents? Okay. Many times they have asked, and not only in prelims but also in mains. Biogeography. You understand that this year, if we look into prelims, for example, there were about 18 questions from geography and there were almost 14 questions from environment and ecology. So biogeography is essentially part of environment and ecology, and number of questions are being asked in prelims and as well as mains. So there is huge relevance. In fact, many times in essay, themes related with environment and biogeography can be asked. So again, there is a huge relevance. If we specifically look into geography optional, what we are finding? We are finding that the questions which are being asked from these topics particularly, if I talk about climatology, oceanography and biogeography, these three topics, the questions are very straightforward. They are to the point. Whatever we will be studying in the class, the same question will be repeated in the examination. So very straight, direct questions are being asked from this topic. So what is this love triangle essentially? This love triangle is something like this. There is a student and there is geomorphology. So students are in love with geomorphology. But geomorphology, if you look into the nature of questions which are being asked, they are actually tough. Many times they are very applied questions they are asking. Like last year itself, if you look into, there was a question which was asked about channel morphology. But they didn't ask a direct question on channel morphology. They asked you what is the relevance of channel morphology with respect to flood management. So it is not something which is like straightforward or a direct question. It is more of an applied question which was asked, which is even not directly mentioned in the syllabus in a way. So that is the nature of geomorphology. So what is happening as the student, they are in love with this subject, they are going in the examination, but examination में क्या हो रहा है? Betrayal, heartbreak. So this is the big problem. And on the other hand, there are topics of climatology, oceanography and biogeography. They are in love with the student. Direct questions are in. Questions like, what is humidity? Write about types of humidity and forms of humidity. A direct question. Questions are being asked, what is dew point and forms of condensation? Questions are being asked, what is thunderstorm? Direct question. Same thing in oceanography. They are asking you bottom topography of Pacific Ocean. Direct question. But what is the problem? Problem is that if you haven't prepared it properly, there is difference between knowing about a subject or a topic, and there is a difference that you have to write that as a subjective answer and get 60% marks, 70% marks. There is a difference. So these topics, they are being taken as granted. Students think कि एक बार क्लास में पढ़ लिया, समझ में आ गया, चलो लिख लेंगे. It doesn't happen like that. लिख तो लोगे. The problem is that you will never be able to reach 50, 60, 70% marks. Whatever you will be writing, maximum you can get out of what you are writing, 40% if you are not prepared from the perspective of answer writing. So geomorphology बता रहा है, हर साल geomorphology का पेपर बता रहा है कि you love this, it is better. But emotions, feelings are always with geomorphology. ठीक है, फालतू का पंगा ले रखा है, फालतू का. लाइफ में चैलेंज लेना है तो और भी चीजें हैं यार, चैलेंज लो, नो प्रॉब्लम. अपना फ्रस्ट्रेशन वेंट अप करना है तो लेटर विल टॉक अबाउट द पोस्ट मॉडर्न सिटीज. So today there is development of post-modern cities, and one of the common things in post-modern cities you will be finding that near the outskirts of the cities you will find several adventure parks, theme parks, fantasy lands where you can go and vent up your frustration. जाके adventure कर लो वहां पर, यहाँ क्यों जरूरत है? Here be very strategic with what you are doing. And what happens if someone is spending almost 40% of the time in studying of geomorphology? Can I say कि जब वो एग्जाम में जाएगा तो क्वेश्चन जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी का तो होगा ही होगा, 2-3 क्वेश्चन होते हैं. अब भले ही आता हो ना आता हो, मॉरल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बन जाती है उस क्वेश्चन को अटेम्प्ट करना. ठीक है, तो दिस इज एसेंशियली व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. एंड यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब तक हम इसको चेंज नहीं करेंगे, टिल देन we will struggle in section A. I am not saying that we don't have to study geomorphology. We have to study, and we have to study in detail. But the kind of curiosity which you are developing in geomorphology, you are reading, going through books. यहाँ पे teachers हैं, students हैं, they have told you कि go through geomorphology सविंदर सिंह. एक बहुत common सा theme आ गया है, जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी सविंदर सिंह. देखो तो उठा करके जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी सविंदर सिंह, कितना टफ है वो बुक. एंड इट विल बी टेकिंग सो मेनी आवर्स ऑफ योर प्रिपरेशन, सो मेनी प्रीशियस आवर्स ऑफ योर प्रिपरेशन, और उसके बाद भी समझ में नहीं आएगा बिकॉज इट इज एक्चुअली टफ. वाई डू यू थिंक मेनी टीचर्स आर रिकमेंडिंग फॉर यू टू रीड जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी सविंदर सिंह? क्योंकि उनको खुद समझ में नहीं आया. And because of that, they are not able to deliver that in the class. And they are just saying कि ठीक है तुम ही पढ़ लो यार, मेरे को तो समझ में नहीं आया. So you have to understand it. So we'll not do that mistake. Our idea is very simple. We will give equal weightage to the geomorphology as well as to the other topics of physical geography, because it is from here you will be finding more direct category of questions are being asked. Remember, in the examination, I have told you before also, there are 3 type of questions which is being asked, and one is the direct type of questions. Other, if you talk about, is the tricky type, and if you talk about the third is the exceptional type of questions. Okay, so you can very well understand here the weightage is I am talking about the mains paper of geography optional. It is 40 to 50% questions are being asked from here. In tricky category, it is 40 to 50% of the questions are being asked. And from the exceptional category, it is 0 to 20% of the questions are being asked. And we will be finding majority of the direct question in physical geography, if I talk about, they are coming from where? They are coming from the three subjects of climatology, oceanography and biogeography. If I talk about the tricky ones, they are asking more tricky questions from here, geomorphology and environmental geography. And if you look into exceptional questions, here again you will be finding the same pattern, geomorphology and environmental geography. This is the pattern of the examination. But we have to understand these questions are never going to play a role in your selection. They will play role in your non-selection if you are not selected. If you too much focus upon this category of questions, essentially your preparation will become geography, a khoj, discovery of geography, because you'll keep on discovering such type of topics, such type of questions. It is here we have to make sure that when the question is a direct category question, my marks should range between 60 to 70%. This should be the marks I should be getting. If it is a 10 marker, I should get between 6 to 7. If it is a 15 marker, I should be getting around 9, 10. If you talk about a 20 marker, I should be getting somewhere around 13, 14 marks in that question. This should be our target. Since tricky questions, if you talk about, there you are not directly prepared. So there you will have to frame the answers of these questions then and there only. But if you have prepared your basics well, you will be able to understand the theme of the question and you will be able to write a sufficiently good answer in this category also. So here if you talk about, the target should be that I should get at least between 40 to 60% whatever marks I can get. Here I am keeping no target. क्योंकि exceptional category के जो questions होते हैं वो कैसे होते हैं? There is one question in compulsory type. Okay, that is always you will find in the paper, it is the first question, 1A. And this itself tells me that basic idea of geography for asking such category of questions is that they want to test you psychologically. Because once you start reading the paper and the first question itself, if you don't know, then what will happen? If you are not psychologically prepared, if you are not psychologically strong, it will create a mental blockage. And then what will happen? Your performance for other category of questions will also go down, even if you know them. So it is a kind of psychological test which UPSC is putting for you. And I know students who haven't even attempted that question number 1A, but they are still getting 270 to 80 marks, which is what is the present trend of selection, where you get essentially selected. So I don't have to focus upon this. The problem is that it is actually related with human behavior. So human behavior कैसा है? There is always fear of unknown. We are always very much fearful of the unknown. So अगर पेपर में questions हैं like dew point, condensation forms, like for example forces governing movement of air on the surface of the earth, bottom topography of Pacific Ocean, वो questions हमारा ध्यान कभी नहीं खींचते. They never draw attention. Why? Because we would have studied them at some point of time. We are known to those topics. Which type of questions will draw your attention? Like pseudo-volcanism, basket of wreck topography, although many of these were, like basket of wreck topography was basically what? It was a question which should have been answered. This type of questions are drawing your attention because you haven't studied them. And then what happens? While you are preparing, your entire focus shifts towards preparation of such type of questions. But believe me, as I have told you before also, there is no limit to such type of questions. I can frame an entire paper जिसमें एक भी क्वेश्चन तुम लोगों को समझ में भी नहीं आएगा, आंसर करना तो दूर की बात है. If I wanted to just make difficult paper, UPSC never intends to do that. The basic idea of UPSC before putting this exceptional category of questions is that it wants to test you psychologically. If faced with such kind of barriers in life where there are hardly solutions present, how you are going to behave. This is what they are trying to test through the paper. So while you are preparing, you have to keep this in mind. Never run behind such type of questions. In fact, how many of you have prepared for engineering examinations like IITs or IIMs या फिर SSC का एग्जाम दिया है या फिर कोई भी अदर एग्जाम्स दिए इस टाइप के, दिया है किसी ने? Okay, some of you have given. Tell me, were you not told in the preparation time कि if suppose even you will be preparing for CSAT? So tell me, are you not being told that there will be some questions where you will get stuck? So once you are getting stuck, what you have to do with those questions? You have to skip them. छोड़ के आगे बढ़ जाओ. Because they are traps. So in the paper, mains paper also, there are traps. And these are traps for that paper also, for your future preparation also. You don't have to focus upon them. So it should not be like this kind of love triangle. Students' focus should be, in fact, also towards these topics besides geomorphology. I am not saying we don't have to study geomorphology. We have to study geomorphology, no doubt. It is an important topic. But relatively, utility of geomorphology is less than these other topics. The return on investment of these topics is much, much higher than you are getting in case of geomorphology. ठीक है? I hope I am very clear about what I am saying. Have you understood my point? ठीक है? So ये चीज बिल्कुल भी नहीं करना है. Class में the way I will be teaching, the way the classes will go on, you will understand most of the concept. And then this is the problem. Here lies the problem. Once you have understood the concepts, you will have tendency to take those concepts for granted. You will not focus on revision. You will not focus on answer writing. And if you do not do this, if you do not consolidate, if you do not revise, if you do not practice writing answers, you will never be able to reach this target of marks in the questions being asked. ठीक है? We have to, if we want to get selected, इस कैटेगरी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस में से हमें ये टारगेट अचीव करना ही करना है. If we are unable to do that, our probability of getting good marks, it is going to drastically decline. ठीक है? So with this message, let us start and begin with the topic of climatology. Climatology. So you can understand, if you look into the ideas of various people, like for example, one of very famous scholars is Noam Chomsky. So Chomsky says that there is threat for the humanity to finish itself. There are issues through which humanity may even be able to finish itself. And among the major threats he talks about, one is definitely the case of the nuclear weapons. But another he talks about is the environmental degradation, including the climate change which is taking place. So I was just going through, or I was looking into the news, and I found the melting of the Greenland ice. So normally what is happening in the years, if we talk about this being the year, and here suppose this is the summer months. What is the case of the melting of ice in Greenland? It is like this. So here the average was found to be 20%. If you talk about, however, 2023, have you read that this year there is a strong El Nino? So it is found this year that this average is, the graph is like this of the melting of the Greenland. And till now, there is 50% of melting taking place of the glaciers which are present over Greenland. So can you understand the significance of the topic that we are going to talk about, climate? And climate is something which is very unique to, if you talk about this climate, which is habitable climate on which life is present. Can I say on Earth, life is present because there is a particular characteristic of our atmosphere, and that has made life possible. And we will see there are human beings. Human beings have done what? Human beings have modified this atmosphere at a very large scale. In fact, I have used this word before also, again I'll use that word. Today, if you talk about the epoch that we are living in, this epoch is referred to as Anthropocene. Anthropocene is the epoch where the human impact has become so much palpable, so much strong, that human beings are leading to great modifications in the environment. So in this Anthropocene, what we are doing, we are creating a tertiary atmosphere. Okay, not even a tertiary atmosphere. In fact, I would say that it is a quaternary atmosphere. Fourth atmosphere is being created. So abhi, when we'll talk about the origin of atmosphere, we will see that there was original atmosphere which escaped into space. Then there was creation of a second atmosphere. This second atmosphere was modified and ultimately it became the third atmosphere, the atmosphere in which life flourished, in which we are living in. But what has happened since Anthropocene? We have drastically changed the atmosphere. And you must be aware that, for example, if I look into the case of, here is the time and here is the carbon dioxide. So what we are finding, if we say that this is the industrial revolution, the concentration of the CO2, it was around 180, and here we are talking in terms of parts per million, ppm. It was around 180. What has happened? Now we have crossed 400. So can you imagine? This is the curve of the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So it is very exponential increase has taken place in the amount of carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere. So we have to be very, very careful with what we are doing with the climate. And we have to understand, tell me, if we want to deal with the problem of climate change, do we have to understand how the climate works? Yes or no? Then only we'll be able to deal with this problem of climate change. And there comes the significance of understanding this climate. And that is what we are doing in climatology. Okay? Because till you understand how the processes work, you won't be able to differentiate the role of human beings in this climate change which is taking place from the role of natural processes which would be also leading to some kind of climate change. In fact, if I just go to the period not too much before, you might be aware that around 1.6 million years ago, there was beginning of a period referred to as the Pleistocene. सुना है प्लीस्टोसीन के बारे में? Pleistocene is a epoch or a time period in Earth's history. Earth's history, you might be aware, it is 4.5 billion years old. So, a small period in the Earth's history, which is the most recent epoch, the former epoch. And if you talk about Pleistocene, you might have seen that movie Ice Age, cartoon movie देखा है? So, it was about that Pleistocene period. So, during the Pleistocene, what we find that there were periods of glaciation and deglaciation. So, at least there were 4 glacial phases in the Pleistocene. So, these are referred to as the glacial phases. When the temperature is, so when the temperature is going down, it is essentially the glacial phase, and when the temperature again increases, it is referred to as the interglacial. Okay, so there were at least 4 glacial phases, and Pleistocene ended somewhere here. Ultimately, what has happened? By the end of Pleistocene, we find that we are again where? In the interglacial phase. So, it is natural that what should happen with the temperature? They should be increasing. The question is this climate change which is taking place today, is it natural phenomena, or is there also role of the human beings in that? Okay. The thing is, ideally what should have happened, the climate change which was taking place, it should be more like this. But today, we find that this is the kind of trend of global warming which is taking place. So, if we infer from the past events of the interglacial phases, this white curve should have been the trend, but this yellow curve is the reality of today. And definitely you can understand that there must be some other factor which is superimposed upon the general tendency of temperature increase in this interglacial phase. So, what we are doing, we are accomplishing the change of temperature at a very fast rate. Tell me, you must have read or you must be knowing about, do species on the earth, do they adapt to the changes which are taking place in the environment? We do adapt to the changes which are taking place in the environment. Okay. In fact, you can understand, because environment has never been constant. There has always been changes in the environment. So, because of these changes, you will be finding that there is evolution of species taking place. Species evolve as they adapt to their changes in the environment. Okay. But history also tells us that species are able to adapt only when the change in the environment is at slow rate. If the rate of change of the environment is very fast, then what will be taking place? The adaptation mechanisms would fail, and there will be cases of mass extinction of the species which can occur. We will later see that the climate change, the global warming, the way it is taking place now, it is leading to what the scientists are calling it as the 6th mass extinction episode. So, before this, there have been at least 5 mass extinction episodes in the geological history of the earth. This is said to be the 6th mass extinction episode, where the extinction rate of the species is much faster than it is found to be in normal case. Okay. So, this is only this pattern, can I say, we will be able to understand when we understand the climate, yes or no? Then only we will be able to ascertain, we will be able to verify whether human beings are playing role in the climate change or not. That is the basic idea. Okay, so that is one thing. Then there are other things also. So let us look into one idea, significance of climatology. And I'll give you 2 minutes to brainstorm and try to generate points with respect to significance of climatology on this topic. Okay. So if we talk about significance of climatology, I'll just come to this question. There's one query asked here by Chetan. In 2022, a study came that inner core is not completely solid, but it is in all three states. So what should we mark or write in examination? Chetan, we will understand later on that there is difference between a theory and a hypothesis. So what is basically a difference between a theory and hypothesis? Theory is something which is verified. There are evidences which have verified the idea, and then it becomes a theory. And if this verification is more universally accepted, then it becomes a law. Hypothesis क्या होता है? Hypothesis is simply a carefully constructed idea which is yet to be verified. Okay, so many of these research studies which are coming, they are yet to be verified, and thus they cannot be accepted as a theory. Okay, so if they cannot be accepted as a theory, you can very clearly understand कि हम उसमें उसको अगर लिखना भी है, if we have to write, after we have written the theory part, and the theory says that the earth core, inner core is basically what? It is solid. Then I can mention about this study. Okay. In fact, if I want to mention, probably it can be one of the space where you can go beyond what has been asked. It is the conclusion. So there you can in fact mention this study. And suppose if you're writing about the interior of the earth, you can say that you write about this study and say that the knowledge we have about the interior of the earth, it is not absolute, because we don't have direct sources. The direct sources are limited. All of these sources are more inferred sources, indirect sources. So as new knowledge comes up, as new technology is developed, there might be changes in what we understand about the interior of the earth. Okay, so you can use that in the part of conclusion rather than writing the nature of the inner core. Okay, so coming back to significance of climatology. So what is significance of climatology? देखो, सिग्निफिकेंस जब भी हम बात करते हैं किसी भी टॉपिक का, इसको सोचने का तरीका है. देखो, व्हाट विल हैपन इफ यू थिंक जस्ट फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव, लाइक रैंडमली अगर मैंने सोचना शुरू किया, तो व्हाट विल बी टेकिंग प्लेस, द थॉट्स विल ऑल्सो कम वेरी रैंडम. एंड if the thoughts are coming randomly, can I say that I will also be writing randomly my answer? Also, another drawback is that you won't be able to generate too many points in that. ठीक है. So जब भी हम significance की बात करते हैं, we are essentially talking about the applied aspect of a phenomenon, because any knowledge today, our society, आज की जो सोसाइटी है, इट इज गवर्न बाय द आइडिया ऑफ मॉडर्निज्म. एंड दिस मॉडर्निज्म, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, इट ओरिजिनेटेड वेयर? It originated in the Western societies. So today's our development and modernism is actually oriented according to what was designed as modernism in the West. Can I say Western societies are more materialistic? Yes or no? They are definitely more materialistic. So if they are more materialistic, it is but obvious that if there is no material benefit of something, those things wouldn't be done. There should be what? There should be some material benefit. Okay. So any knowledge, if it is produced, this knowledge should be doing what? It should be in a position to help the society. Okay. So when we are talking about the applied theme, always in applied theme, there are two parts. And what are these two parts? One, we are trying to understand, and this applied, when I am using the word, it is related with more physical geography terms. So there are two parts. One part is that how the knowledge can be useful to society. This is one part where you have to think. And second part of the applied theme is to understand human beings as an agent of change in the given phenomenon. As an agent of change in the given phenomenon. ठीक है, तो दो, अगर मैं दो थीम्स की तरफ अब सोचना शुरू करूं, if I begin to think from these two perspectives, so tell me, study of climatology, what it does it helps in understanding of the atmosphere and atmospheric processes? ठीक है, this knowledge is useful from various perspectives. So one, अब मुझे कौन से पर्सपेक्टिव से लिखना है, तो मेरे सिलेबस के टॉपिक्स हैं मेरे पास. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, मेरे पास पेपर 2 का अगर मैं सिलेबस देखूं, तो देयर इज फिजिकल सेटिंग, देयर इज रिसोर्स, देयर इज एग्रीकल्चर, देयर इज इंडस्ट्री, देयर इज ट्रांसपोर्ट, देयर इज कल्चरल सेटिंग, देयर इज सेटलमेंट्स, ठीक है, पॉलिटिकल एस्पेक्ट्स. All of these I can write. There is regional development and planning. ठीक है, कितने पॉइंट्स हो गए? करीब 9 पॉइंट्स हो गए. एक और टॉपिक है कंटेम्पररी इश्यूज, इज अनदर टॉपिक विच इज देयर इन द सिलेबस. तो 10 टॉपिक हो गए. क्या मैं 10 पॉइंट लिख सकता हूं थिंकिंग अबाउट ईच ऑफ दीज? तो वन, फिजिकल सेटिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से मुझे सोचना है. So tell me, study of the climate, does it helps in understanding of the climatic regions of India? Yes or no? There is a topics mentioned. So it helps in understanding the distribution of climate in world. It helps in syllabus का एक टॉपिक अभी देखेंगे, climatic classification. Climatic classification. So obviously yes. अब जिसको इसी के अंदर कुछ और चीजें लिखनी है, you can definitely write. Like for example, from the perspective of India, study of the climate, climatology, does it helps in understanding of the phenomena of monsoon? Obviously, yes. India has a special climate by the name of monsoon, which is different from the climate which is found elsewhere in the world. So I can write about that. Then, from the perspective of resources. So resource के perspective से, can we say that understanding of the climatology helps in formulating sustainable policies of resource exploitation or resource development? Yes or no? ठीक है, it helps in resource development. Like for example, कई तरीके से resource development में help करता है. Like अगर मुझे resource development की बात करनी है, तो we will see those areas which will experience heavy precipitation and will have alternate wet and dry climate will be the areas where you will be finding presence of laterite soils, will be the areas where you will find a mineral that is bauxite, and ore will be found bauxite. And bauxite से हमें क्या मिलता है? Aluminium. ठीक है, I can give example. Similarly, as I said, it also helps in what? Sustainable resource development. Sustainable resource development. For example, tell me, if we are talking about an area which is like Rajasthan, what is the climate of Rajasthan? It is semi-arid to arid climate is found. And if it is semi-arid to arid climate, does it means that here water resources would be limited? And if water resources are limited, climate tells us that water resources would be limited. Do we have to develop such type of technologies which are water efficient? Yes or no? Do we have to be judicious here when we are exploiting the water resources like groundwater? Obviously, yes. Today, what we have done, can we say we haven't followed it properly? And we will see Rajasthan is one area, in fact, not only Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, where there is severe depletion of groundwater which has taken place. Here, groundwater lies in over-exploited category. Okay. So again, understanding of the climate, it helps in the resource development, sustainable development of the resources. Then agriculture development. Okay. So tell me, today we find, you must have heard about the agrarian crisis in the world, in India. There is agrarian crisis. India की अगर मैं बात करूं, as a case study of agrarian crisis, it is manifested in number of farmers suicide which is taking place. You must have heard about it. Okay. Why there is so much farmer suicide? One of the reasons is that today we have tried to extend the green revolution technology in those areas also where it is not suitable. We will later see green revolution technology is a resource intensive technology. It is based upon maximization of input. You have to maximize the input so that you can maximize the output. Okay? It is also because of that it is referred to as package technology. Because उसके लिए तुम्हें क्या क्या चाहिए? You need HYV seeds which are costly. But HYV seeds, they are not like you just sow them and they'll give you very good productivity and production. They need fertilizers. They need lots of nutrients which is supplied through chemical fertilizers. Now, chemical fertilizers, they are concentrated. If you just put the chemical fertilizers like that, what would be taking place? It would burn the tissues of the plants. So first, these chemical fertilizers have to be diluted by use of large amount of water. So that means you require assured irrigation facilities are required. Then when you are producing a climate, an environment where there is lots of water and there is lots of nutrients, tell me, have you produced an environment which is very conducive for the growth of pests? Obviously, yes. So यानी कि मुझे अच्छी productivity के लिए do I need to also use pesticides? Obviously, yes. So we will see why it is referred to as, there are other factors also like use of power, machinery, all of these, they make it as a package technology. And can you understand, if you are doing this in areas which are semi-arid, where there is no such assured water availability, can I say if there is failure of monsoon or if there is any shortage of precipitation, does it means that there can be also failure of crop? Yes or no? Okay. And essentially this is becoming a problem because farmers are taking credit and ultimately they are unable to repay the credit and it is becoming a debt crisis. And that is manifested in the large number of farmers suicide which is taking place. So can I say the crux of the problem is that the agriculture is not tuned with the agroclimatic zones? Yes or no? It is not aligned with the agroclimatic zones. So for example, in dry area, tell me, in dry areas, should we go for cultivation of dry crops? Should we use dry farming techniques? Obviously, yes. Rather than this resource intensive based green revolution technology, first green revolution technology in fact. So can we write about this? How it helps in agriculture development? It helps in, or we can formulate, agroclimatic regions. Today, these agroclimatic regions have been further developed into agroecological regions. And this should be base of what? This should be the base of agricultural development planning. Agriculture development planning. Okay. So can I write about agriculture? Obviously, yes. It also helps in understanding of industrial development or planning industrial development. Okay. For example, there is directly the role of climate in industries. So tell me, for example, directly if we talk about, do you know that there are so many industries, particularly manufacturing industries, which are highly water intensive, like iron and steel industry? It is highly water intensive. If you talk about food processing industry, high water intensity. Chemical industries, pharmaceutical industries, large amount of water is required. Okay. So can I say, while we are planning these industries, do we have to also look into the availability of water resource, which in turn is function of what? Climate. Also, some industries take, like textile industry. So देखेंगे textile industry जो होता है, cotton textile particularly, it used to be based, and even today you'll find the largest textile industries are actually based in the coastal regions, coastal areas. So why in coastal areas? Because in humid climate, the cotton thread that is made, it becomes more thicker and stronger, and thus the textile which will be made out of that, it will be better. Okay. So that is again from where? From the humid climate. So very clearly you can understand that when you have to choose the location of cotton textile industry, can I say this factor should be taken into account? Obviously, yes. Although today we have created technology referred to as humidifiers, where you can create such kind of humid climate artificially as well. But again, that also requires availability of water. So there is directly the role of climate in industrial development. Similarly, can I say there is indirectly also it plays a role? Like for example, suppose you get a job, okay, and you get a job in software industry. For example, suppose you are an engineer and you get an option to choose between two locations. One is Chennai and other is Bangalore. Normally, I'm not talking about the people who are residents of that place. So leave them. You are an outsider. Which one will you choose? Bangalore. I will also choose Bangalore. Why? Because can I say the climate is very favorable. It is cooler. On the other hand, Chennai, if you talk about, it is a coastal city where the climate is hot and humid. Okay. Can you understand it? Is it no wonder that Bangalore has become the Silicon Valley of India? Okay. So again, it helps in the development of industries. Same thing if you talk about transportation. So tell me, does understanding of climate and climatology, does it helps in some types of transportation directly? Like does it helps in development of airways? Yes or no? There is a direct role in the development of airways. Even in other type of ways or other transportation, there can be a direct indirect role. Like for example, if we are making a road in a particular area, do we also have to look into the type of climate which would be present there to make sure that the roads are durable and they are there for longer period of time? You'll also have to look into the type of climate which is present there. So in transportation, again what we find, there is a role. Then there is a topic, cultural settings, syllabus का topic है, and उसमें we study about population. Okay, so tell me, if we look into the distribution of population in the world, we find that there are two type of areas. One type of areas are referred to as ecumene, and second type of areas are referred to as non-ecumene. So ecumene areas कौन से हैं? These are the areas which are where the population density is higher. ठीक है, where people are settling, more population is found. Non-ecumene areas कौन से हैं? These are the areas where very sparse population is found. For example, one non-ecumene area of the world is Arctic region. Can I say one of the reasons why it is non-ecumene is the harsh climate which is found there? Obviously, yes. Similarly, another area which is non-ecumene are the deserts of the world. So can I say again there we know that it is related with the climate, harsh climate which is found there. Okay. So can we say it also helps us in understanding the population and demographic processes which are going on. Then settlement अंडरस्टैंडिंग में भी ये हेल्प करता है. ठीक है, लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू लुक इनटू if we look into Mexico, we will be finding that most bigger cities of Mexico, they are located where? They are located in the central part. ठीक है, in central Mexico. Like for example, where is the location of Mexico City? In the central part. So the larger cities of Mexico, actually they are located in the central part, not in the coastal areas. Normally हर जगह पर हमें कहाँ पे ज़्यादा population मिलती है? Coastal areas में. But here it is not so. And what could be the reason? Because this central Mexico is a plateau. And plateau, can I say they tend to be higher? And if they are higher, will they be cooler? It is located where? In the tropics, subtropics? So it will be cooler. And because of that, you will be finding that larger cities are located here. There is another, अगर हम देखें तो you'll find that there are less population density found on the east coast of Mexico, and there is more population density found on the west coast of Mexico. So why it is so? Again, you will find it is related with the climate. East coast, can I say, will there be onshore winds, trade winds? तो onshore trade winds होंगी तो east coast कैसा हो जाएगा? Will it become hot and humid? And if it is hot and humid, does it means that there can be problems, various type of problems, like one big problem is mosquito. So there is this coast, if you talk about, it has lots of mosquitoes. In fact, if you look into this Central American coast, it is referred to as the mosquito coast. So much huge problem. And will it impact the health of the people? Obviously, yes. So you can understand why there is less population density along this coast. So when we are trying to understand the population distribution, settlement distribution, we again find that there is a role played by climate. Today we are talking about development of sustainable cities. Okay? Sustainable cities. Tell me, will the definition of sustainable cities be different when we are talking about an area which is receiving very heavy precipitation compared to an area which is receiving less precipitation? Yes or no? The architecture will be different. many of the processes which will be going on, they will be different. So the idea of sustainable cities will entirely change when we are talking about a humid area and when we are talking about a dry area. So again, we can see very clearly in planning of settlements, does climate plays a role? Obviously, yes. For example, you might have heard about, अभी recent में भी हुआ है, floods in Mumbai. Do we hear this news every year? ठीक है. We will later see one of the reasons is that the drainage system which was designed for the city of Mumbai, it is inadequate. The climate was not taken into account while designing the city of Mumbai. A committee formed in 1990s, it was very clear that if we want to deal with the problem of floods, these urban floods in Mumbai, we have to increase the capacity of the drainage system. So a area which is receiving, a city which is receiving precipitation over 200 centimeter, can I say the definition of sustainability there is different compared to an area, for example, Jaipur? There the sustainability will be different. Okay. So again, what we find, there is role in settlement, understanding of the settlements and planning good settlements, sustainable settlements. Okay. Similarly, there is another thing, it is regional development. Regional development. So tell me, when we are talking about regional development, should it be based upon the climate of the particular region, of that particular area? Okay. It should play a very dominant role in determining the regional development policies of that particular area. So for example, you might have heard about in recent time, this year itself, it was very big news. Did you hear about the heat waves which were taking place? Very strong heat waves were taking place. So now if you are going for the kind of city development, suppose हम regional development में एक city development की बात करते हैं, so it is based upon the traditional model of city. And what is the traditional model of city? You clear the vegetation and ultimately you create concrete structures. So what will happen if there is such kind of heat waves? Can we say it will lead to intensification of the heat waves? Obviously, yes. Okay. So there, can I say I will have to go for more greenery, more the concept of urban forests in such kind of areas to deal with the problem of heat waves? Obviously, yes. Okay. Also the type of, जैसे अभी हमने agriculture का बात किया, it should be aligned according to the agroclimatic zones. The climate should determine what type of agriculture development should be taking place. So again, regional development, it plays a role. Does it plays a role in determining the political settings? Political settings. Tell me, have you heard about the issue of various river water disputes? Yes or no? One of the very famous is the Kaveri river water dispute, where the states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu are involved. So can I say, many of these disputes, are they essentially function of climate? They are function of climate. If you look into the peninsula has mountains on near its coast. So there is Western Ghats and there is Eastern Ghats. So does it means that the interior of the peninsula, will it fall under the rain shadow effect of Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats? Obviously it will. And thus there will be what? There will be problem of water scarcity. And this problem of water scarcity will be manifested in what? It will be essentially manifested in, if you talk about this political disputes. Okay. So again, if I want to understand this problem, interior political problems, there is a role played by climate. Okay. Does it also determines the geopolitics? Today, tell me, is climate change an important issue which is geopolitical issue, a big geopolitical issue of the world? ठीक है? And does it also determines our association with many of the countries? Obviously, yes. There again, we can see that climate is playing important role in the world geopolitics. Okay? So there is a role played in political settings. Then there is one topic of our syllabus, contemporary issues. और contemporary issues में एक topic है environmental hazards. So tell me, does the understanding of the climate helps in dealing with many of the climatic hazards? For example, in recent times, has our ability to deal with the tropical cyclones increased? Yes or no? Why? Because we are better able to predict them. And again, it comes from where? It comes from the knowledge of the climate. ठीक है? तो कितने पॉइंट लिख लिए हमने? 10 पॉइंट लिख लिए. अभी भी खत्म नहीं हुआ है, और भी लिख सकते हैं. To understand human beings as an agent of change in the given phenomena. ठीक है? So if I want to think about human beings as an agent of change in the climate, tell me, can I think from the perspective of how human beings are leading to changes in the climate at global level? What is their role? Are we leading to changes in the climate at regional level? And are we leading to changes in the climate at local level? 3 points लिख सकते हैं. So you know, for example, if I have to think about global levels, can I talk about phenomena like ozone depletion? This is a global phenomena. Similarly, the climate change, global warming which is taking place, it is a global phenomena. IPCC is very clear that both these phenomena were result of what? They were result of human activities. We added many halogens in the stratosphere, and these halogens became the primary cause of the loss of ozone in Antarctic region. Similarly, if you talk about climate change, global warming of today, it is result of the increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, like methane, and again it is result of what? Human activities. Okay. Similarly, if you talk about regional level, are we leading to changes in climate at regional level? Yes. Suppose if human beings are clearing the forests, does the clearing of the forest will lead to changes in the hydrological cycle? Obviously, it would do. So we find that there are changes occurring in the hydrological cycle. Similarly, local level, tell me, do we hear every winter about the pollution in Delhi? Yes or no? So we have created gas chambers in many of the cities of the world. And again, it is result of what? It is result of the human activities. And again, how we will be able to understand? By understanding the climate and climatology. Okay? So this is the significance of climatology. It helps us in understanding these problems and also finding solutions to these problems. Okay? I hope you have understood. क्या इसको करने के लिए, क्या इसको लिखने के लिए बहुत स्पेशल नॉलेज चाहिए था? नहीं चाहिए था यार. Even just understanding of the syllabus would have done. It would have done the task. And did you see the power of thinking logically? When you think randomly, you will be able to generate less number of points and very disorganized way. But when you are thinking on certain themes, if you have a framework to think, then what will happen? Your answers will be more logically arranged, and also you will be able to generate more number of points. Okay? So I hope you have understood what is the significance of the study of climate and climatology. It is very, very important. So that is climatology. Now, if we look into the syllabus of climatology, we will be finding number of things. First very important thing is how to prepare climatology. Let us talk about this for our purpose of examination. Okay. Now, in climatology, there are certain trends that we, and these trends you can understand from the fact, like for example, one of the topics of the syllabus is types and distribution of precipitation. Types and distribution of precipitation. So tell me, हम जब types पढ़ेंगे तो we will talk about 3 types of precipitation taking place in the world. One is referred to as orographic. Yes or no? कम से कम ये तो पढ़ा होगा यार, स्कूल टाइम में भी पढ़ा होगा. Orographic precipitation, convectional precipitation, and if you talk about the third, essentially is disturbance precipitation. Disturbance precipitation. So these are the 3 types of precipitation. Distribution of precipitation में we'll talk about temporal distribution, in time how the precipitation is distributed, and spatial distribution of precipitation. तो ये सिलेबस का मेंशन्ड टॉपिक्स, बट यूपीएससी ये टॉपिक्स को इस तरह से इंटरप्रेट नहीं कर, it is not interpreting directly. Questions have been asked, like I have told you, on humidity, its types and forms, then if you talk about, questions have been asked on dew point, condensation and its forms. यहां पे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए, ठीक है. सो टेल मी, ये तो सिलेबस में कहीं पर भी मेंशन नहीं है. It is not mentioned in the syllabus, but still they have asked question on it. Similarly, एक दूसरा टॉपिक देखते हैं. सिलेबस में मेंशन है टॉपिक ट्रॉपिकल एंड टेम्परेट साइक्लोन्स. तो यू नो ट्रॉपिक्स में भी साइक्लोन होते हैं, and outside the tropics there are temperate cyclones or the extra tropical cyclones जिसको बोलते हैं. So that is mentioned in the syllabus, but if you look into the PYQs, they have asked question on thunderstorms. syllabus में कहीं पर भी mention नहीं है thunderstorms, ठीक है. So what does this tells me? This tells me one important thing. UPSC is not taking these topics of the syllabus in literal sense. ठीक है, it is not taking it in literal sense. These topics are taken as inclusive topics. There are 2 type of topics in the syllabus, inclusive and exclusive. ठीक है, when the topic is exclusive, जो टॉपिक मेंशन है, जो लिखा हुआ है सिलेबस में, क्वेश्चन सीधा उसी पर आता है। ठीक है, लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू लुक इनटू वन टॉपिक इज अप्लाइड क्लाइमेटोलॉजी, अभी देखेंगे, और अप्लाइड क्लाइमेटोलॉजी में उन्होंने एक्सक्लूसिवली मेंशन कर दिया, दे हैव, हियर यू सी, there is applied climatology. They have exclusively mentioned one aspect of applied climatology you have to study, that is urban climate. You go into the previous year questions and you will be finding only one question has been asked, or the question which has been asked up till now from this topic is on urban climate and nothing else. ठीक है, सिमिलरली यहाँ पर देखो अप्लाइड जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी है, they have very clearly mentioned geohydrology and economic geology and environment. If you go into PYQs, it is clear that they haven't asked beyond this. Syllabus is exclusive, exclusively mentioned. ये टॉपिक कंसेप्ट्स ऑफ जियोमॉर्फिक साइकिल्स एंड लैंडस्केप डेवलपमेंट, पहले 2008 से पहले ये टॉपिक मेंशन्ड था फ्लूवियल साइकिल, एरिड साइकिल, कास्ट साइकिल, कोस्टल साइकिल, ग्लेशियल साइकिल मेंशन थे। ठीक है, गो इनटू द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस ऑफ द पीरियड बिटवीन 1998 एंड 2008, 2007 इन फैक्ट, यू विल बी फाइंडिंग एक भी क्वेश्चन इन साइकिल्स के बाहर नहीं है। बट फिर क्या किया उन्होंने 2008 में, they changed the topic and now the topic is concept of geomorphic cycles and landscape development. And अब ये कैसा हो गया, now it has become an inclusive type of topic. That means now they can ask you any cycle. So in recent times, since the syllabus was changed, you will be finding 2 times they have asked on periglacial cycle, जो पहले नहीं पूछा जाता था, but now they have asked. So there are 2 type of topics in the syllabus. In climatology, UPSC is treating majority of the topics as inclusive topics. ठीक है, so अगर उन्होंने suppose precipitation mention कर दिया है, तो you should be knowing anything and everything related with precipitation from the beginning to the end. Everything you should be knowing about precipitation. तो अगर मैं बुक में देखूं तो जो प्रेसिपिटेशन का टॉपिक्स होते हैं, हाउ दे आर एक्चुअली मेंशन्ड, यू विल सी दैट दे स्टार्ट विथ ह्यूमिडिटी, एंड आफ्टर ह्यूमिडिटी देयर इज अ टॉपिक बाय द नेम ऑफ ड्यू पॉइंट एंड कंडेंसेशन. कंडेंसेशन में स्पेशली मेंशन होता है फॉर्म्स ऑफ कंडेंसेशन. फॉर्म्स ऑफ कंडेंसेशन 2 तरीके के हो सकते हैं. वन फॉर्म ऑफ कंडेंसेशन कैन बी क्लाउड्स, अदर फॉर्म ऑफ कंडेंसेशन इज फॉग्स. ठीक है, देन आफ्टर दिस देयर इज द टॉपिक ऑफ precipitation process, how once the clouds are formed, how precipitation occurs. There are 2 ways for precipitation to occur, either it is through Bergeron process or it is through collision coalescence process. Then after this essentially comes the types of precipitation. Then comes finally the distribution of precipitation. ठीक है, तो जब मुझे, अगर मैं टारगेट करके जा रहा हूं कि मुझे क्लाइमेटोलॉजी से जो भी क्वेश्चन आएगा उसमें से आई हैव टू स्कोर 60 to 70% मार्क्स, can I say will I have to prepare all of these topics from that perspective? Okay, so I should know humidity and its types. I should know what is dew point, condensation. Knowing is different, but consolidating my preparation, I should be in a position to write good answers with examples. Same thing, question can be any time asked about clouds. In fact, recent में cloud burst पे question पूछा है, ठीक है. So you should know about clouds. अभी पूछ ले examination में classification of clouds, ठीक है. 99% of the people will not be able to write, and I am talking about geography optional students. Although that topic is there for the taking, if you know and what you will be writing, your answer will directly match with the model answer of the examiner, and there he will have tendency to give you better marks. क्वेश्चन अगर अभी आ जाए, फॉग्स, टाइप्स ऑफ फॉग्स एंड इट्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, 100%, वहां तो मैंने 99 बोला, 100% पीपल विल नॉट बी एबल टू, ठीक है. सिमिलरली बर्जेरॉन प्रोसेस, कोलिजन प्रोसेस, इसी से रिलेटेड होता है. द कंसेप्ट ऑफ आर्टिफिशियल precipitation, it is based upon these processes. So again you will be finding majority of the people will not be able to write properly. So how we have to prepare climatology is this way. Same thing, जो cyclones वाला topic है, actually you will be finding in the books there is a chapter by the name of atmospheric disturbances. एटमॉस्फेरिक डिस्टर्बेंसेस, ठीक है. और एटमॉस्फेरिक डिस्टर्बेंसेस कई लेवल के डिस्टर्बेंसेस होते हैं. लाइक साइक्लोन्स की अगर हम बात करें, दीज आर बेसिकली विच टाइप ऑफ डिस्टर्बेंसेस, दीज आर सेकेंडरी लेवल डिस्टर्बेंसेस. सो वन टाइप ऑफ डिस्टर्बेंसेस आर साइक्लोन्स, but there are tertiary level disturbances also, lower level disturbances also which are there. Like for example, below this there is thunderstorms. Thunderstorms के भी बहुत सारे types होते हैं. The normal type of thunderstorm, which is referred to as simply the air mass thunderstorms, they are not so much severe, but there are severe thunderstorms as well. One thunderstorm is referred to as cloud bursts. Another thunderstorm, if you talk about, it is referred to as the mesocyclone. Thunderstorms, ठीक है. In fact, this mesocyclone thunderstorms जो होते हैं उनमें एक अलग फिनोमेना दिखाई पड़ता है हमें, and this phenomena is a lower level disturbance which is referred to as tornado. So question can any time be asked about tornadoes. When such tornadoes are developing on water, these are referred to as water spouts. So again, any time a question can be asked on water spouts. So if we want to do this thing in climatology, if we want to achieve that 60 to 70% marks on the questions which are asked in climatology, I have to treat the topics as inclusive rather than exclusive. ठीक है. और तभी हम इस चीज को इंश्योर कर पाएंगे. That means I should be ready to write any time between 150 to 250 words on any of these given topics. ठीक है. Some of them will not be asked as 250 words. Like water spouts, if it is asked, it will always be 150 words. But others can be asked even as a 200 words, 250 words, 15 marker, 20 markers. ठीक है. So this is the way we have to prepare. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि क्लाइमेटोलॉजी को हमें कैसे प्रिपेयर करना है. वी हैव टू प्रिपेयर इट अ मोर ट्रेडिशनल वे, द बुकिश वे. ठीक है. सो इफ वी आर एबल टू प्रिपेयर इट अ मोर ट्रेडिशनल वे, बुकिश वे, वी विल बी इन अ पोजीशन टू एंश्योर गुड मार्क्स इन क्लाइमेटोलॉजी। और बुकिश वे का मतलब ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि बुक ही पढ़ना पड़ेगा, ठीक है, कुछ चीज़ों के लिए अगर पढ़ते हो बिकॉज ऑफ जस्ट टू डेवलप अंडरस्टैंडिंग, इट इज़ फाइन, बट इट डजेंट मीन्स कि अब क्लाइमेटोलॉजी की बुक उठा करके ले आए, किससे पूछोगे तो तुरंत यहाँ पर तो सलाहकार, दे आर सो मच एडवाइजर्स विच आर प्रेजेंट, हु आर प्रेजेंट, खुद कभी किताब खोल के देखा नहीं होगा, बट दे हैव एडवाइस फॉर एवरीथिंग. So if you ask, people will tell, oh, go and buy DSLR, or you buy Savinder Singh Climatology. Very good book. There is no doubt it is a good book. But what is the return on investment if you read that book? It is very low. You will be spending more time, but the return will be quite lower. So we will be doing most of these topics in the class. Whatever we will not be able to do, I will give you handouts. I will give you the reading material, or I will tell you the chapter which is to be read from the book. ठीक है, although यहाँ पर our coverage will be more or less 100% in climatology. ठीक है, so you have to just focus upon that. What is maybe left little bit जो रह जाएगा वो कुछ factual details रह सकते हैं इधर से उधर, ठीक है, और वो जो factual details हैं they are not important from the perspective of mains examination, they are just important from the perspective of prelims examination. Can I say कि जितने भी मैंने टॉपिक्स यहाँ पे जॉट डाउन किए हैं, कैन एनी टाइम अ क्वेश्चन इन प्रीलिम्स बी आस्क्ड फ्रॉम दिस टॉपिक्स? यस और नो? ठीक है, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हैव दे आस्क्ड इन द पास्ट, अगर मैं बात करूं लाइक हियर क्लाउड्स, if you go back you'll find many times questions from clouds have been asked, like they have asked you about lightning and thunder phenomena taking place from the cloud, why it is taking place. In recent times they have asked the linkage of clouds with the global warming, dimming and brightening phenomena which is taking place. Okay, so we have to understand them, we have to have a good knowledge on these topics from the perspective of prelims. And believe me, अगर हमने क्लाइमेटोलॉजी को अच्छे से कर लिया ना तो हमारे 100 में से 2 क्वेश्चन पक्के हो गए, वो गलत नहीं हो सकते, बिकॉज इन क्लाइमेटोलॉजी यूपीएससी इज आस्किंग कंसेप्चुअल क्वेश्चंस, एंड इफ यू हैव कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी इन द टॉपिक, 2 क्वेश्चन पक्के हो गए. डू यू नो दैट दिस ईयर द कट ऑफ विल बी समवेयर अराउंड 77 से 80 के बीच में होगा, बिकॉज आई नो मेनी स्टूडेंट्स हु वर नॉट hopeful of clearing the prelims because they were getting 76, 77, they have cleared. ठीक है, तो समवेयर अराउंड 80 के आसपास होगा. अब उस 80 में से 4 नंबर तुम्हारे वैसे ही आ गए अगर इसको सही से पढ़ रखा है. ठीक है, so that is essentially the significance of climatology. तो इसको तैयार करने का तरीका क्या है? बेस्ट तरीका ये है कि हम बुक जो होती है, ठीक है, देयर इज अ इंडेक्स ऑफ द बुक, ठीक है, एंड इफ यू हैव लुक्ड इनटू द इंडेक्स, कैन आई से इंडेक्स में देयर इज अ टॉपिक और उसके बहुत सारे सब टॉपिक्स मेंशन होते हैं, ठीक है. कैन आई मेक श्योर कि हर सब टॉपिक पे आई एम एबल टू राइट 150 वर्ड्स. इफ आई एम प्रिपेयर्ड up to this level, prelims and mains दोनों में it will become a kind of easy for us. ठीक है, so we have to prepare climatology in this manner. I hope I am clear. Okay. So that is Archana, there is no need, and wherever it will be need, I will tell you. Like for example, I will tell you for climatology to read some chapters of G.C. Leong, and you can understand G.C. Leong is a book for GS. So she is asking that if we follow the lectures, will there be any need to purchase book for climatology? I am saying again no. Wherever it is need, I'll tell you. G.C. Leong सबके पास होनी चाहिए. इट इज अ बेसिक एलिमेंट्री बुक, एंड जीसी लियोंग में भी मैं बताऊंगा चैप्टर 15 to 25. to read. I'll give you as a homework later when we'll do the climatic classification topic. So why this chapter 15 to 25? Because यहाँ पर हर climatic type के लिए एक अलग से chapter है. And in this chapter, the details of the climate are being talked about of that particular type of climate. Like for example, chapter 15, first chapter is on tropical rainforest. Okay, so climate is talked about, but not only climate. If you talk about also the vegetation which is found there and some human aspects also are linked. Okay, so wherever needed, I will tell you. No 500 plus हिंदी में नहीं है यार. ओके, इंग्लिश में ही पढ़ा के थक जाता हूं. सो सिलेबस को थोड़ा सा एनालाइज करते हैं क्लाइमेटोलॉजी का. तो सिलेबस ऑफ क्लाइमेटोलॉजी आई कैन डिवाइड इट इनटू थ्री types of or three parts. One part is what I call it as basic climatology. Basic climatology. Second, if you talk about, is the advanced climatology. Yes, you can join Pradeep. Then third, if you talk about, is the applied applied climatology. So there are three parts the syllabus can be divided. Basic climatology क्या होता है? Basic concepts of climatology, where many of these concepts you would have also studied in your school time में भी पढ़ा होगा. तो स्कूल टाइम में हम पढ़ते हैं इवन इन योर क्लास 6, 7, 8 और 9th क्लास में पर्टिकुलरली होता है क्लाइमेटोलॉजी. So many of these you would have studied. Here the basic idea is that atmosphere is treated as a two-dimensional thing, and we try to understand the concept of the climate, treating atmosphere as two-dimensional. But today we understand that atmosphere is not two-dimensional, it is three-dimensional. And on the basis of that, there is a new concept. Rather than air, we are today talking about air mass. Okay. So the concepts of advanced climatology, they are more related with this idea of air mass. And many of the other advanced topics like climatic classifications, etc., they are as a part of advanced climatology. And then, as I talked about, there is applied climatology. So it can be divided into three parts. So basic climatology mein, today for example, we will be talking about some elementary topics. And if you talk about these elementary topics, they are not mentioned in the syllabus. Despite the fact that they are not mentioned in the syllabus, we have to be very clear with respect to these topics. Like for example, origin of the atmosphere, like for example, composition of the atmosphere, structure of the atmosphere. अगर हमें यही नहीं पता होगा तो फिर हम आगे कैसे समझें? ठीक है? So there are some elementary topics that have to be understood. One elementary topic which is mentioned in the syllabus is that of weather and climate. So this topic also we'll talk about today, difference between weather and climate. Then the main basic climatology starts, and one of the topics that we have to talk about, which is mentioned in the syllabus, is insolation and heat budget. Insolation and the heat budget. So you can understand, can I say कि climate में जो भी phenomena हो रहा है, whatever phenomena, climatic phenomena, weather phenomena, they are taking place, we will see that these weather phenomena are result of very important factor, that if you look into our earth surface, earth is sphere, so not every part of the earth is receiving same amount of sunlight. Okay, so what we find, if we look into this is the equator, this is 90 degree, and this is around 40 degree. So what we find about the insolation, we find that the insolation that is received on the surface of the earth, it is like this. It is like this. The outgoing energy, if you talk about, which is referred to as the terrestrial radiations, they are like this. Okay. So incoming energy is the yellow line, which is insolation. Green line is essentially the outgoing energy, which we call it as the terrestrial radiations. So can you see very clearly? Do we find that here there is between 40 degree north and 40 degree south? Do we find that there is a heat surplus? And if I go here, do we find that there is a heat deficit? Heat deficit which is found. ठीक है, अगर ये कंडीशन ऐसे ही रहे, ठीक है, टेल मी, does it means that with progressively with time the places located between 40 degree north and 40 degree south, should they become hotter and hotter? Yes or no? Obviously yes. And the places located outside this region, they should become cooler and cooler. ठीक है, but we know that it is not taking place. Average temperatures क्या होते हैं? They are more or less same. So why it is not taking place? Because there is circulation. Atmospheric circulation is occurring, and this atmospheric circulation is at macro level. Circulations are there, meso level circulations are there, and even there are micro level circulations. All of these are helping in balancing of heat, and this balancing of heat is referred to as what? Heat budget. ठीक है, so that means कि अगर मुझे इंसुलेशन और हीट बजट नहीं समझ में आए, आगे के टॉपिक्स भी साफ होंगे. ठीक है, यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. इट इज द बेसिक बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक ऑफ क्लाइमेटोलॉजी. इट इज अ फंडामेंटल टॉपिक. पूरा बेसिक क्लाइमेटोलॉजी, जिस स्टूडेंट ने बेसिक क्लाइमेटोलॉजी मिस कर दिया उसको एडवांस नहीं समझ में आ सकता. And very important thing is each topic is interrelated to each other. We are building, एक के बाद एक हम कंसेप्ट्स को बिल्ड कर रहे हैं. यानी कि अगर आपका पीछे का मिस हो गया तो आगे का भी नहीं आएगा. ठीक है, सो इंसुलेशन एंड हीट बजट. देन देयर इज अ टॉपिक मेंशन्ड इन द सिलेबस, टेम्परेचर बेल्ट्स. Temperature belts. So tell me, what is difference between insolation and temperature? Hmm? Hmm? heat and cold. Okay. This question actually, if you look into PYQs, this question was asked difference between insolation and temperature and explain the concept of anomalous temperatures. ये क्वेश्चन आ चुका है एंड कैन यू इमेजिन कि ये क्वेश्चन इतना बेसिक था दैट एवरीवन वाज सरप्राइज्ड. So what is essentially insolation? Insolation is definitely the incoming solar radiations, while temperature is the degree of heating. ठीक है, so it is essentially measure of the degree of heating which has taken place. So that is the basic difference between insolation and temperature. So can I say the degree of heating that will occur, will it be function of insolation received? ठीक है, it will be function of the insolation received. But देखेंगे कि it is not just function of the insolation received. There will be other factors also which would determine. ठीक है, like for example बाद में देखेंगे continents get more heated compared to if you talk about water bodies. ठीक है, so there is a great contrast you will be find between the heating of the continents and heating of the water bodies. Similarly, other things we will see, like for example, if suppose at a particular place there might be presence of influence of ocean currents, so that might also help or that might also change the degree of heating which will be taking place. Similarly, if you talk about, can we say altitude also plays a role? Obviously it plays a role. Otherwise you can understand, बैंगलोर और चेन्नई की बात की थी अभी हमने, दोनों नियर बाई हैं, ठीक है, बट बैंगलोर इज कूलर. तो अगेन ऑल्टीट्यूड इज प्लेइंग ऑल्सो एन इंपॉर्टेंट रोल. इनफैक्ट बाद में देखेंगे द हायर प्लेसेज एक्चुअली रिसीव मोर सनलाइट than the places which are located lower, but still Bangalore is cooler. ठीक है, so temperature belts and syllabus is mentioning temperature belts. Essentially it is interpreted as distribution of temperature on the surface of the earth. और अब मुझे temperature distribution को interpret करना है. Tell me, can I say this distribution of temperature, can I think from the perspective of space? There is spatial distribution of temperature. Is there also temporal distribution? Obviously, yes. Also, think about this. When we are talking about spatial distribution, can we also think from horizontal point of view and vertical point of view? Within the atmosphere, there is also vertical distribution of temperature. For example, जब हम troposphere में होते हैं, temperature is declining. But when we enter into the stratosphere, temperature begins to increase. फिर जब हम mesosphere में जाते हैं, फिर से decrease होने लगता है. And then again when we enter into thermosphere, it again begins to increase. ठीक है, so temperature belts is another topic. Once we have understood the temperature, can I say, is there relationship between temperature and atmospheric pressure? Yes or no? Obviously yes. ठीक है, so there is a topic by the name of pressure belts. So what is the relationship between temperature and pressure? Inverse relationship exists. ठीक है, यहां पर किसका किसका साइंस है एज अ बैकग्राउंड? डोंट यू थिंक कि साइंस में हमने अलग पढ़ा है गैस लॉ? गैस लॉ में तो डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप था between temperature and pressure, yes or no? बट वहां पर उस रिलेशनशिप में एक फैक्टर कांस्टेंट था, दैट वाज वॉल्यूम. ठीक है, हियर दैट वॉल्यूम इज नॉट कांस्टेंट एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट व्हाट हैपेंस, देयर इज अ इनवर्स रिलेशनशिप which we find, and we will see कि surface पे there is an inverse relationship and we will see in the upper troposphere there is actually a direct relationship. So we will see, and in fact we will see, अगर suppose करो इतना पढ़ा होगा तुम लोगों ने, we are saying there is a direct relationship इनडायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन टेम्परेचर एंड प्रेशर। ठीक है, हम देखेंगे कि इक्वेटर पे क्या मिलता है, लो प्रेशर। 30 डिग्री लैटिट्यूड के पास क्या मिलता है, हाई प्रेशर। ठीक है, वी विल सी दैट टेम्परेचर वाइज इक्वेटर इज कूलर, tropics subtropics are hotter, highest temperatures are found where, in the tropics subtropics। तब तो ये उल्टा हो गया यार, ये सो नो, अभी हम बात कर रहे थे इनवर्स रिलेशनशिप है, तो ट्रॉपिक्स सब ट्रॉपिक्स में वहां पे हमें लो प्रेशर मिलना चाहिए, कंपैरेटिवली इक्वेटर इज कूलर, तो कंपैरेटिवली इक्वेटर पे देयर शुड बी कंपैरेटिव हाई प्रेशर, बट ये तो उल्टा हो गया। तो बाद में देखेंगे इट इज नॉट जस्ट टेम्परेचर बट देयर आर ऑल्सो मैकेनिकल फैक्टर्स रिलेटेड विथ रोटेशन ऑफ अर्थ। यू माइट हैव हर्ड अबाउट कोरियोलिस फोर्स। ठीक है, so there are other factors also which are playing role in determining the pressure distribution on the surface of earth। ठीक है, so we have to study about the pressure belts। once you have understood the pressure system you can understand, अगर हम लाइफ में देखें कहीं पर भी एंड नेचर में, नॉट ह्यूमन लाइफ बट इन नेचर, कैन आई से the relationship is such that if there is a high and if there is a low, there will always be flow from high to low। yes or no? नेचर में हमेशा हाई से लो की तरफ होता है, ऑल्दो ह्यूमंस ने इसको ऑल्टर कर दिया है, एंड ह्यूमंस में हम क्या देख रहे हैं, द फ्लो इज फ्रॉम लो टू हाई। डू वी फाइंड एवरी ईयर पुअर पीपल आर बिकमिंग मोर पुअर एंड रिच पीपल आर बिकमिंग मोर रिच? We have altered the laws of nature and one day we will repay for it. We are already repaying it. So when there is difference of pressure, will this difference of pressure also create circulation of atmosphere? Yes or no? Obviously yes. So there is atmospheric सर्कुलेशन, और देखेंगे यहां पर हमारा फोकस किस पे होगा, मैक्रो एटमॉस्फेरिक सर्कुलेशन। बट एटमॉस्फेरिक सर्कुलेशन एज अ कंसेप्ट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इट इज मैक्रो, मीजो एंड माइक्रो। ठीक है, सो मैक्रो लेवल पे हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं, मैक्रो लेवल पे हम पढ़ रहे हैं प्लेनेटरी विंड्स, लाइक इफ यू टॉक अबाउट जेट स्ट्रीम्स, ट्रेड विंड्स, वेस्टर्ली विंड्स, polar easterlies, all of these are what, macro winds। ठीक है, बट सर्कुलेशंस तो रीजनल लेवल पे भी हो रहे हैं, मीजो लेवल पे भी हो रहे हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल मॉनसून विंड्स, आर दे अ टाइप ऑफ सर्कुलेशन टेकिंग प्लेस एट मीजो लेवल, रीजनल लेवल? ऑब्वियसली यस। हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट लोकल विंड्स लाइक लू? so the circulations are also taking place at local level। ठीक है, इसी को अगर मैं दूसरे तरीके से देखूं, एट मैक्रो लेवल देयर इज, यू माइट हैव हर्ड अबाउट हेडली सेल, फेरल सेल, पोलर सेल, ये मैक्रो लेवल के सर्कुलेशन, वॉकर सेल मैक्रो लेवल का सर्कुलेशन। बट देयर आर ऑल्सो मीजो लेवल सर्कुलेशन। साइक्लोन्स क्या है, दीज आर मीजो लेवल सर्कुलेशन। देयर आर माइक्रो लेवल सर्कुलेशन, thunderstorms, tornadoes, these are micro level circulations which are taking place। so everything which is taking place actually it is what, it is atmospheric circulation। but जैसे questions पूछे गए syllabus में जो पूछा गया है atmospheric circulation, at this point we will talk about the macro circulation because others will come later on। so one manifestation of the macro circulations क्या होता है, या किसी भी तरह का circulation क्या होता है, it is winds। ठीक है, it is essentially winds। So one of the topics of the syllabus is the planetary winds। ठीक है, और planetary winds, एक तो planetary winds कहां पे चल रही हैं, सरफेस पे, then there are planetary winds also in the upper atmosphere। so we will see in the upper atmosphere there is presence of upper air westerlies। Embedded within upper air westerlies are your another topic, that is, उसको मैं यहां पर रखता हूं, जेट स्ट्रीम. ठीक है. सो देर इज प्लेनेटरी विंड्स. कैन आई से रीजनल लेवल पे भी विंड्स होंगी. सिलेबस में मेंशन है मॉनसून, that is regional level circulation, regional level winds. Then there is also local level winds, by the name of local winds are mentioned. ठीक है. So that is one segment of बेसिक क्लाइमेटोलॉजी. सो हम यहां पर देख सकते हैं बेसिक क्लाइमेटोलॉजी को, एक तो एलिमेंट्री टॉपिक्स हो गए, देन देर इज टॉपिक्स रिलेटेड विथ टेम्परेचर, then there is topics related with pressure and winds. ठीक है. Then there is a third category of the topics which are related with moisture and precipitation. ठीक है. Moisture and precipitation. So syllabus में जो mentioned है, the only thing which is mentioned in the syllabus is types and distribution of precipitation. But अभी हमने देखा था, our interpretation of this topic will be more wider. We will talk about humidity, we will talk about dew point, condensation, forms of condensation, we will talk about precipitation process, we will talk about the types of precipitation, we will talk about the distribution of precipitation. ठीक है. So all of these we are going to talk about as a part of this topic. So that is the types and distribution of precipitation. So these are your topics of basic climatology which we have to master them. Once we master them, you will see that your understanding of advanced climatology will itself. फिर उसके बाद तुम्हें टीचर की जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ेगी. Once you have understood properly basic climatology, once you read jet stream, you will understand basically. Similarly, there are some other topics. One advanced climatology topic is the topic of stability and instability. So we will see that air can be found to be stable or unstable, and this determines the circulation, what type of circulation will be taking place. So stability, instability. Then there are other topics, like one very important topic of the syllabus is air mass. Air mass. And related with air mass, one more topic, it is the fronts. Once you have understood the fronts, then you will be in a position to understand the cyclones. So there are two types of cyclones, temperate and tropical cyclones. But as we have seen, we will also talk about thunderstorms, we will also talk about tornadoes, water spouts. So all type of atmospheric disturbances we will talk about in the classes. So that is another topic which we have to cover up. Another advanced climatology topic is hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle. Then there is another topic which is climatic classification. Earlier there was only two type of classification which was mentioned. Now they have mentioned three classifications. So climatic classification का जो topic है, it is a kind of exclusive topic of the syllabus. उन्होंने mention कर दिया है कि इन तीनों के बारे में पढ़ना है, and you don't need to study anything more than those three. So climatic classification of Köppen, Thornthwaite and Srivatha. Trivata. So these are the topics of advanced climatology that we have to prepare. Then there is applied climatology. Syllabus में दो topics mentioned है applied climatology के. Can you see? Global climatic change and role and response of man in climate changes. So, global climatic change and role and response of man in climatic change. Role and response of man in climatic change. ठीक है, अब देखो कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है चीजों को समझना. इट इज सेइंग ग्लोबल क्लाइमेटिक चेंज. कितनी बार क्वेश्चंस मैंने दिया है अबाउट क्लाइमेट चेंज, एंड जस्ट बिकॉज वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द ग्रेविटी ऑफ द टॉपिक, the scope of the topic, our answers will become wrong. So if I am asking about climate change, or suppose causes of climate change or anything, can I say climate change is a general term? Has there been climate changes also in the past? Yes or no? ठीक है. So we have to understand, we have to interpret climate change from a broader perspective. Historical climate change also has to be taken into account while we are studying. The contemporary climate change which is taking place, it is global. So many times when I have given the question, people will just write only about the contemporary climate change. But climate changes, as we know, they can occur because of several other factors. They have occurred in the past. And finally, there is applied climatology and urban climate. Applied climatology and urban climate. So this is our syllabus, and this way we have to prepare. One by one we'll build up. ठीक है. Okay. Now, coming to one important general topic, elementary topic of the syllabus, which is also given in the syllabus, is the topic of weather and climate. Weather and climate. Okay, so it is essentially weather and climate. तो सबसे पहले हमें ये समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है, वेदर एंड क्लाइमेट. तो पहले अगर हम देखें व्हाट इज एसेंशियली अ वेदर. वेदर रेफर्स टू बिहेवियर ऑफ एटमॉस्फेयर एट अ प्लेस फॉर अ शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. ठीक है. So it is essentially related with what? It is related with the behavior of atmosphere at a place for a short period of time. So at a particular point of time, अगर मैं अभी बात करूं, what is the condition of atmosphere outside? So I will interpret the condition of atmosphere outside in terms of what? Like for example, can I talk about temperature? Can I talk about other things like atmospheric pressure? Can I talk about other things like winds? Can I talk about other things like humidity, precipitation? Okay. So when I am interpreting, when I am trying to understand the behavior of the atmosphere, characteristic of that particular atmosphere at a particular place, at a particular point of time, or in shorter period of time, we are talking about weather phenomena. Okay. On the other hand, when we are talking about climate, climate is what? It is a long term average of weather conditions. International Meteorological Organization, it takes the average to be 35 years. Okay. So it is basically what? It is long term average of the weather condition. You'll get access to handouts, Archana. So it is written there. So long term average of the weather conditions. When we are talking about climate, एक term हमने यहाँ पर यूज किया long term average. ठीक है, एवरेज और मीन. बट अगर मैं केवल एवरेज की बात करूं तो देन अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्लाइमेट विल बिकम एन इशू. ठीक है, it will essentially become an issue. For example, if I look into two type of climates, one type of climate is tropical rainforest and other type of climate is monsoon climate. ठीक है, tropical monsoon climate. इन दोनों का एनुअल एवरेज टेम्परेचर कितना है? It is 27 degrees Celsius. So if I just take the mean, if I just take the average, can I say there is no difference between them? Yes or no? There is no difference between them. But if I actually take the distribution of temperature in a months, what we will be finding? We will find that at the tropical rainforest, the variability of temperature in a year will be very low. But what will happen in the tropics? It will be higher than what is happening in the at the equator. So there is a difference. That means क्या मैं कह सकता हूं कि मुझे एवरेज मीन के साथ साथ वेरिएबिलिटीज को का भी लॉन्ग टर्म एवरेज लेना चाहिए? यस और नो? ठीक है. सो इट इज ऑल्सो वेरिएबल इन स्पेस लाइक वेदर एंड इन टाइम फॉर लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम में वेरिएबल है. विल टॉक अबाउट दिस. सो इफ आई जस्ट हैव टू फर्स्ट डिफाइन क्लाइमेट, climate is or includes the average weather conditions of a place, average weather conditions of a place with respect to both the mean as well as variabilities. Variabilities in those conditions. वेरिएबिलिटीज इन दोज कंडीशंस. ठीक है. तो अगर मैं क्लाइमेट पढ़ रहा हूं, सपोज मैं दिल्ली का क्लाइमेट पढ़ रहा हूं, एक तो उसका मीन एनुअल टेम्परेचर हो गया, वी शुड नो अबाउट. बट डू वी ऑल्सो नीड टू नो अबाउट व्हाट इज द लॉन्ग टर्म टेम्परेचर ऑफ द मंथ ऑफ जनवरी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मीन ऑफ जनवरी और मीन ऑफ फेब्रुवरी, और इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द मीन ऑफ मार्च, जुलाई, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, ये भी पता होना चाहिए हमें. इसके साथ साथ हाउ मच वेरिएबिलिटीज, मैक्सिमा और मिनिमा कहां तक जाता है, एवरेज, दैट ऑल्सो आई शुड नो. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज वी आर स्टडिंग एज अ पार्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेट. ठीक है. अब देखो ये डेफिनेशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है समझने के लिए. यहां पर हमने क्या बात किया? एवरेज। ठीक है, एज अ स्टूडेंट मुझे एक बड़ी प्रॉब्लम होती थी। आई जस्ट शो यू। Okay, so this is the month of July, July map of India. ठीक है, what is the type of winds which are present during this period? It is southwest monsoon. Why we are calling them as southwest monsoon? Because they are coming from southwest direction. Winds are named according to their direction. अब बट मैं यहां पर देखूं तो नो डाउट देयर इज प्रेजेंस ऑफ साउथ वेस्टर्ली विंड्स मिल रही हैं मुझे, नो डाउट। बट कैन यू सी winds are also, are they becoming westerly at places? Yes or no? Can you also see at places they are becoming actually easterly? At places southeasterly. ठीक है, तो फिर हम क्यों बोल रहे हैं साउथ वेस्ट मॉनसून? वेरी गुड। एज ए स्टूडेंट मैं सोचता रहता था यार ये क्या गड़बड़ है, ये क्या लोचा है। साउथ वेस्ट मानसून बोल रहे हैं और विंड्स का डायरेक्शन तो डिफरेंट ही डिफरेंट है। देन व्हाई वी आर कॉलिंग इट एज साउथ वेस्ट मानसून? essentially because we have to understand we are studying climatology, and climatology is study of what? It is study of averages. ठीक है, so if we calculate the average dominant wind direction, it will come out to be southwesterly, and that is why we are calling it as the southwest monsoon season. तो जहां पर भी इस तरह का डिफरेंस दिखाई पड़े, you have to understand that we are studying what? We are studying average, because we will find कि जब हम climate पढ़ रहे हैं, because every day we are experiencing climate, yes or no? So we might find that there are some contradictions. There are some contradictions which we are facing. So always when you face such contradictions, remember climatology is study of what? It is study of the averages. ठीक है, so okay, so this is what we mean by the climate. ठीक है, now very important thing is climate, you have to understand one factor or one element of climate is the atmosphere. But when I am talking about atmosphere, we have to understand that atmosphere there are 4 spheres of environment. There is biosphere, and we know that they are all interlinked to each other. ठीक है, तो टेल मी नाउ, अगर मैं एटमॉस्फेयर को आइसोलेटेड पढ़ूं, इफ आई स्टडी एटमॉस्फेयर एज एन आइसोलेटेड फिनोमेना, will I be ever able to develop complete understanding of what is happening in the atmosphere? Never. So when we are talking about climate, climate is not just manifestation of atmosphere. It is also related, or it is also about the linkage of the atmosphere with the other spheres of life, other spheres of the environment. So how it is related with the lithosphere, how it is related with the biosphere, how it is related with the hydrosphere. In fact, within hydrosphere, you can understand there is also ice sphere. So how it is related with each of them? So when we are talking about climate, we can say climate is not just study of the atmosphere, but also its linkages with the other spheres of environment, including lithosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. So you can understand, इसका एग्जाम्पल मैं पहले भी दे चुका हूं in the preparatory classes. So tell me, this is one earth and this is other earth situation. ठीक है, this is the tropics, in situation A, most of the continents are present like this. In situation B, continents are combined together and present, suppose like this. Tell me, in which case do you think that the earth will be warmer? It will be A. Why overall earth will be warmer in case of A? We will see later that the reflectivity, that is albedo, of land is more than that of water. Water is transparent, and as a result what will happen? More sunlight will be able to enter, more sunlight is absorbed when there is presence of water. Okay? Now tell me, can we say in case of A, do we find that there is hardly any land present within the tropics? Does the tropics are receiving more sunlight? There will be more absorption taking place. In case of B, there is more land present, and if there is more land present in the tropics, that means more sunlight is reflected back without any heating impact. Okay? So again you can understand, can we say कि lithosphere, does it plays a role in determining the temperatures or the climate? Obviously yes, it does plays a role. देखेंगे इतना सिंपल नहीं है, यहाँ पर मैंने सिंप्लीफाई कर दिया रिलेशनशिप, बट देयर इज दिस काइंड ऑफ रिलेशनशिप विच एग्जिस्ट. तो देयर इज रिलेशनशिप विद द लिथोस्फीयर. लोकल लेवल पर भी ये रिलेशनशिप एग्जिस्ट करता है. अभी हमने बात किया था बेंगलोर इज मोर कूलर. व्हाई इट इज मोर कूलर? बिकॉज इट इज हायर. ठीक है, so there is a relationship. Hydrosphere, again there is a relationship. This year we are finding there is huge warming of the oceans taking place, and if the oceans are getting warm, does it means that there can be warming of the land also? Can it occur? It is occurring. We are finding unprecedented heat waves occurring. ठीक है, और ये कैसे हो रहा है? वो तो एल नीनो तो फिनोमेना ओशन का है. इट इज वार्मिंग ऑफ द पैसिफिक ओशन, ईस्टर्न पैसिफिक. बट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? वी आर फाइंडिंग दैट द heat waves are across the world and very strong heat waves. So there is a very strong relationship between the hydrosphere and the atmosphere. ठीक है, देखेंगे जो करंट्स चलती हैं, it is predicted that if the climate continues to get warmer, what will happen with the ocean currents, particularly the deep ocean currents? They will slow down or can even stop. ठीक है, और अगर ऐसा हुआ अगर वो स्लो डाउन हो गई तो दिस इज, यहां से कौन सी करंट आती है? गल्फ स्ट्रीम, एंड दिस गल्फ स्ट्रीम बिकम्स द नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट. Part of North Atlantic drift becomes the Norwegian current. And this warm waters of Norwegian current ये कहाँ पे जा रहे हैं? Arctic में. Are they going in Arctic Ocean? Yes, they are going in Arctic Ocean. Suppose this current, it stops or slows down. Does it means that the warm waters of Norwegian current, they will not go in the Arctic now? And if these warm waters are not present, will it affect the temperatures of the Arctic Ocean? Obviously it will do. ठीक है, obviously it will do. तो बाद में ओशन करेंट्स ओशनोग्राफी में पढ़ेंगे एंड विल सी. उससे पहले देयर इज अ मूवी डे आफ्टर टुमारो, वो इसी पे पूरा बेस्ड है, तो उससे पहले देख लेना. So if you talk about, there is a very clear linkage between the hydrosphere and the atmosphere. ठीक है, सेम थिंग, टेक द केस ऑफ बायोस्फीयर. अभी मैं अगर बाहर जाऊं, इफ आई गो ऑन रोड, टेल मी, विल आई एक्सपीरियंस लॉट्स ऑफ सनलाइट? धूप लगेगी, गर्मी होगी. एंड इफ आई फील टू मच हॉट, टायर्ड, कैन आई स्टैंड बीनीथ अ ट्री? पेड़ के नीचे अगर खड़ा हो जाऊं, डू वी फाइंड दैट बीनीथ द ट्री देयर इज लिटिल बिट कूलर टेम्परेचर्स? yes or no? So can you understand why? Trees, if you talk about, they are doing one phenomena which is referred to as transpiration. You know about transpiration? It is a form of evaporation. So transpiration is the mechanism which is available to the plants through which they are able to regulate their own temperatures. ठीक है? So if they are able to regulate their own temperatures, there is transpiration taking place, evaporation taking place. Will it, अगर evaporation होता है, तो does it generates a cooling impact? Obviously it does. So that cooling impact is present beneath the trees. So can we say trees create their own microclimates? They definitely do. And if there is not just one tree, but a bunch of trees, forests, will they create this same change which was local at a regional level? Yes or no? Obviously they will do. ठीक है. Similarly, suppose हम बाद में देखेंगे एटमॉस्फेयर. ठीक है, एटमॉस्फेयर में देयर इज ह्यूमिडिटी, और एटमॉस्फेयर की कैपेसिटी होती है ह्यूमिडिटी कंटेन करने. इट कैन कंटेन अप टू सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ ह्यूमिडिटी विच इज रिलेटेड टू इट्स टेम्परेचर. ठीक है. नाउ व्हाट विल हैपन इफ सपोज एटमॉस्फेयर में 50 ह्यूमिडिटी है, water vapor are 50 units. Its capacity is 60 units at a given temperature, and we are able to add more humidity. Suppose 15 units हमने add कर दिया, उसकी कैपेसिटी कितनी है? 60. That means ये जो एक्स्ट्रा 5 यूनिट्स हैं वो क्या हो जाएंगे? They will convert into rain droplets, water droplets. ठीक है. So this is one way in which condensation can take place. So tell me, if there is presence of a tree, and we know that this tree is doing transpiration, can it add these 15 units of water vapor? Yes or no? So wherever trees are present, wherever forest is present, does it means that that area will receive more precipitation? Obviously, yes. So when you are cutting down the trees, what you are doing, you are altering the hydrological cycle of a place. ठीक है. So there is definitely what relationship with lithosphere, hydrosphere and biosphere. So when we are studying climate, we are not just concerned about atmosphere. We are also concerned about the relationship of atmosphere with these other spheres. Tell me, can we say, in fact, in recent times, climate studies also take into account relationship of atmosphere with the anthroposphere, with the anthroposphere. Can we say this is evident in the emergence of themes like applied climatology? Okay. So this is evident in the emergence of themes like applied climatology. So in the Anthropocene, what has happened? Human beings have emerged as an important agent of change in the atmosphere. Thus today, the climate is not just study of atmosphere and its linkage with the biosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere, but also its linkage with the anthroposphere. Okay, because you cannot explain many of the things. You cannot explain how this much methane has become part of the atmosphere till you look into the human activities. Okay. So this is what we mean by the term climate. Now, once we have understood the climate, then we are in a position to understand difference between weather and climate. I'll give you 2 minutes. Think, suppose if you had to write what is difference between weather and climate, what you would have written. Yes, Archana, it would apply. As I told you, the relationship is more complex. I was just simplifying it. It is my sincere advice that whenever you are given time to brainstorm, do brainstorm, because this is something which is going to help you in the examination. This is the ability which you are developing. Okay, very important thing when we have to answer such type of questions which are basically related with difference, like difference पूछ रहा है, in certain type of questions quantity becomes more important than quality. ठीक है, तो अगर इस तरह का क्वेश्चन आ रहा है, द मोर द नंबर ऑफ पॉइंट्स आई राइट, ग्रेटर आई विल फोर्स द एग्जामिनर टू गिव मोर मार्क्स टू मी. ठीक है, तो दैट इज वन थिंग वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. फिर दूसरी चीज, ये इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस ऐसे भी होते हैं वेयर आई कैन सेव अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ टाइम बाय राइटिंग इन पॉइंट्स, बाय मेकिंग अ चार्ट. ठीक है, नाउ व्हेन यू आर मेकिंग द चार्ट, when you are writing about difference, always make a chart which has 3 columns. ठीक है, वो 2 कॉलम वाला नहीं लिखना, वो स्कूल में करते थे, यहां नहीं चलेगा. And here it will be criteria of difference. If you talk about here, it is, suppose I am taking the case of weather and suppose I am taking the case of climate. So I can talk about various dimensions. इस तरह से लिखने में फायदा क्या है? What is the advantage? You are clearly mentioning the difference. Most important thing is you have to understand any writing is a communication. So you are communicating with the examiner. That means if I make the task of the examiner easier, he will reward me. ठीक है, एक कैलकुलेशन हमने किया था एक बार एवरेज, कि अगर सपोज कॉपीज चेक हो रही हैं एंड एवरेज सपोज द नंबर ऑफ एग्जामिनर्स how much they are keeping, one average came out that there is an examiner not giving more than 20 minutes in your copy in reading your answers, not more than 20 minutes. ठीक है, यानी कि he is checking your copy in just 20 minutes, and when he is checking your copy in 20 minutes, what essentially he is doing, he is scanning through your copy, trying to find the keywords, because उसके माइंड में वो कीवर्ड सेट हैं. And I can tell you this based on my personal experience as well. When I was a beginner and I used to check the copies, एक एक लाइन, एक एक वर्ड पढ़ता था, क्योंकि डर था ना अंदर कि कुछ छूट गया तो स्टूडेंट आकर के गाली देगा. But now when I am very mature teacher, I have very good understanding of the topic, I can check the copy very fast. I can just scan through, I'll find keywords. And मिल गया तो ठीक है, नहीं मिला तो भी ठीक है. तो नहीं मिला तो एक रीज़न हो सकता है लिखा ही नहीं हो, दूसरा रीज़न हो सकता है कि आपने ऐसा लिखा हो कि वो छुपा हुआ था. ठीक है, so they are also checking the copy like that because they are at that maturity level. So it is our task कि जो कीवर्ड्स हैं दे शुड बी, जैसे ही कॉपी खोली जाए वो कीवर्ड्स बाहर निकल के आने चाहिए, दे शुड बी लाइक दैट. इट इज आवर टास्क, एंड बाय डूइंग दिस आई एम मेकिंग श्योर दैट हिज टास्क इज रिड्यूस्ड. सो क्राइटेरिया ऑफ डिफरेंस अगर आपने लिखा है, हो सकता है कि फिर वो पढ़े भी नहीं what you have written inside, might just look into, okay, all these criteria of differences are written, he must have written, and he'll give you marks for that. ठीक है, so for example, tell me one difference, अभी हमने लिखा था definition, can it be written as a part of the difference? Yes, it can be written. Then other differences can be written, elements of weather and climate. So tell me, when we are talking about weather, we are concerned, हमने क्या लिखा था, behavior of the atmosphere, conditions of the atmosphere we are concerned about. So basic our focus is on which type of elements. We are focusing upon elements like diurnal temperature, यस और नो? डेली का टेम्परेचर पे हमारा फोकस है या फिर डायरेक्शनल रेंज ऑफ टेम्परेचर या फिर मैक्सिमा टेम्परेचर ऑफ अ डे, maxima and minima, in fact, temperatures of the day, these are the variables I am concerned about. Elements या फिर इसको हम variables भी कह सकते हैं, we are concerned about. Similarly, tell me, are we concerned about other variables like the diurnal wind velocity or daily precipitation levels, daily humidity levels? These are the variables we are concerned when we are studying the weather. But when we are studying climates, what we are concerned about? Can I say, for example, if I take the case of temperature, are we concerned about variables like annual average temperature? Yes or no? Are we concerned about variables like mean monthly? Mean monthly temperatures? We are concerned about the annual range of temperature. Similarly, we are concerned about average annual precipitation. We are concerned about seasonal precipitation which is taking place. Okay? So the focus of study shifts when we are talking about weather and when we are talking about climate. So this is one difference between the weather and climate. Then other difference between the weather and climate is related with variability. Variability. So tell me, do we know that weather is a dynamic phenomena? Is a highly dynamic phenomena which can change in short period of time. Which can change in short period of time. ठीक है? So for example, maybe अभी हम बात कर रहे थे कि बाहर धूप है, अभी बाहर निकल के देखूं तो हो सकता है बारिश हो रही हो. So that is basically what? That is weather. When it comes to climates, can we say climates are they comparatively more stable? At least in shorter period of time they are stable. Climates are known to change, but in over longer periods of time. Like for example, there can be decadal changes in the climate. There can be even more long-term changes. Okay? Century changes, even changes which are taking place in lakhs of years, thousands of years. So the changes are occurring in the climate, but over longer period of time. So if we talk about climate is more stable over shorter period of time. It is known to change over longer time scale, over longer temporal scale, like decadal, centennial, and more. So in thousands of years, in lakhs of years, there are cycles in which the changes are taking place. जैसे एक साइकिल होता है मिलांकोविच साइकिल. So in Milankovitch cycle, we talk about three things. It is related with the, if you talk about the orbital of the Earth, the orbit of the Earth around the Sun, it is related with the tilt of the Earth. ठीक है. So all of these are not fixed. For example, अगर हम tilt की बात करें, how much is the Earth's tilt is there? Rotational axis is tilted 23.5 degree. ठीक है. So it is changing. We will see. It is changing over longer period of time. ये tilt में भी change होता है. हालांकि आजकल ह्यूमन बींग से मर्ज हो गए. So you might have heard about a recent news, and a recent news tells us, a study tells us that human beings have withdrawn so much of the groundwater that the tilt of the Earth's rotational axis has changed. ठीक है. And definitely you can understand it is going to impact the climates. So there is the factor of variability. Then there are other things like relationship with vegetation. Relationship with vegetation. So tell me, suppose करो कि we are talking about Rajasthan desert. In Rajasthan desert, suddenly one day there was very heavy precipitation. 20 centimeter of precipitation took place. ठीक है, in a day, not even in a day, in few hours. Does it means कि वहां पे tropical rainforest रुक जाएंगे? Definitely नहीं. So when we are talking about the relationship between weather and climate, weather and vegetation, this relationship is very weak. There is hardly any relationship. ठीक है. Vegetation is not function of the weather condition. Weather might affect little bit. Like for example, अगर suppose करो कि thunderstorm आ गया, तो thunderstorm में बहुत winds चल रही हैं, and winds can cause damage to the trees. ठीक है. So it might affect little bit, but overall there is no such linkage. On the other hand, if we talk about climate and vegetation, we can simply say vegetation are manifestation of the climate. ठीक है. So much so that we can use, because we are writing optional answer, so we can say that Köppen, when he was attempting his climatic classification, he chose the vegetation boundaries for drawing the boundaries of climatic types. ठीक है. So there is no direct relationship. Here we can say vegetation is the manifestation of climate, so much so that Köppen used vegetation boundaries as climatic boundaries. Boundaries in his climatic classification. In his climatic classification. This is another difference between them. Then we can write more differences. We can talk about academic linkage. Academic linkage. Can we say weather is a subject matter primarily of meteorologists? Meteorology. ठीक है. So weather is a subject matter more important to meteorology. While if you talk about climate is more significant to climatology, which is a branch of geography. Which is a branch of geography. So this is another difference between them. Then tell me, utility. If you talk about understanding of weather, so when we are talking about weather and its utility, can we say weather's utility is with respect to things like its utility lies in activities like disaster management and in managing day to day affairs. Day to day affairs. ठीक है. So for example, अगर एक farmer है and if a farmer comes to know that in next 2-3 days there might be precipitation which might be harmful for the crops, can we say he might try something providing some kind of protection to the plants? So it is more useful from day to day purposes, day to day affairs. When it comes to climate, climate knowledge is more useful from the perspective of long term planning. From the perspective of long term planning. For example, in India we have agroclimatic zones classification, and this agroclimatic zone classification is utilized for what? Agricultural planning in India. Okay? So it is more useful with respect to such kind of planning purposes. So that is also if you talk about the difference between them. So you can see हमने क्या किया, हमने बहुत सारे differences generate किए. So more number of points, definitely it means that you will get more number of marks. आज तक ये कभी क्वेश्चन पूछा नहीं है, weather and climate. If it is asked in the examination, generally it is going to be a 10 marker until unless there is a tail attached to it. ठीक है? Okay. So that is the difference between the weather and the climate. Then another thing, let us little bit discuss fast. Heat resistant. I didn't get your question. Ask me again. It will be put under the category of climate because there will be an average. Suppose karo ki there is heat wave taking place in a particular year. Does that heat wave will determine your planning of agriculture? Because heat wave is taking place this year, might not occur next year. So it will not affect your overall planning, because when we are talking about planning, you know that planning is there are rolling plans, but there are 5-year plans and there are even long term plans. Okay? So when we are talking about, suppose we know that there is millet are more drought resistant crops. Okay. So we know that which area of India is generally facing drought like conditions. Okay. So those areas would be more suitable for growth of such type of crops. So it will be put under the category of climate. Okay. If you talk about origin of the atmosphere, we should little bit know about the origin of the atmosphere. So first very important thing about the atmosphere, the present atmosphere is not the original atmosphere of the earth. ठीक है. So present, ये सब लिखा होगा, आई एम जस्ट राइटिंग इट. Present atmosphere is not the original atmosphere. How we can know? Remember, पहले भी मैंने बताया है, in science all sciences are based upon one important principle, and this principle is principle of uniformitarianism. What does the principle of uniformitarianism says? It talks about, or it says, present is key to the past. ठीक है. That means the processes which are taking place today, they would have also been occurring in the past. That means if you want to interpret the past interpretation should not be based on illogical things. It should be based upon the present known processes. ठीक है. तो कहने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि सपोज देयर इज रिवर गंगा. ठीक है. We know today the rivers are either originating from some springs or essentially they are originating from glaciers. ठीक है. They are the sources of water. तो आज के टाइम में ऐसा हो रहा है रिवर्स के ओरिजिन में, तो हम फालतू में क्यों बोलेंगे कि शिव जी की जटा से निकल रही है? यू कैन इमेजिन, इट इज इलॉजिकल. क्या आज किसी की जटा से निकल रहा है अ रिवर? You cannot find it to be true. So this is the basic principle of science. So today we find that there are many planets. If you look into Jupiter, if you look into Saturn, and you will be finding the atmosphere that is present in on those planets, this atmosphere is highly poisonous. Several poisonous gases are present like methane, etc. ठीक है. Atmosphere on the earth is fundamentally different from those planets. What is the characteristic of those planets? They are outer planets. You know, earth is inner planet. Can we say these planets are large in size? And if they are large in size, does it mean that they will have higher gravity, stronger gravity? Their gravitational force will be higher. And if their gravitational force is higher, tell me, is it possible that their original atmosphere would be still present today? It wouldn't be able to escape. ठीक है. Because their gravity is high. So from the study of the atmosphere which is present there, we can know that the Earth's atmosphere of today is not the original atmosphere. ठीक है. In fact, we will see that it is the tertiary atmosphere, third atmosphere. So what happened to the original atmosphere? The question arises, what happened to the original atmosphere of the earth, या फिर हम इसको बोल सकते हैं first atmosphere of the earth. So number of factors we have to take into account. One factor is, tell me, do we find that at the time of origin, what would have been the temperatures on Earth's surface? They would have been very high. Earth's surface would have been present. So that is one. Second important factor, if you look into Earth, Earth is also an inner planet. You know what are inner planets? Planets which are found up till Mars, they are referred to as the inner planets. And what is characteristic of inner planets? They are smaller in size. Smaller in size. And smaller in size means there is lesser gravitational pull. Lesser gravitational pull. So tell me, already there is lesser gravitational pull, and if I combine both of these factors, lots of high temperature along with smaller gravitational pull, does it means that the original first atmosphere would have achieved the escape velocity and it would have escaped into space, outer space? So due to this, the original atmosphere would have achieved the escape velocity and escaped into outer space. Into outer space. Okay? So that is what happened with the first atmosphere. Now the question arises then how the present atmosphere has been formed. Atmosphere was formed. This is a question. Now there were number of theories, not theories, in fact hypotheses. So one of the hypotheses suggested that probably the atmosphere, in fact the water on the earth, it would have actually come from some meteorites. So there are several evidences that in the initial phase of earth development, several meteorites would have hit the earth's surface. So it was thought that they would have come as a result of or along with the meteorites. But these theories have been rejected today. These not theories, hypothesis has been rejected today. And today it is very clear that the present atmosphere, the primary process it has come into being is the phenomena of degassing. It is the phenomena of degassing. So what is degassing? Degassing is a phenomena which occurs, it is the phenomena of release of gases from the volcanoes. From the volcanoes. Okay. So what we find that there is whenever there is volcanism taking place, there is release of gas. In fact, what is the composition? Most significant is water vapor. Oh, if you talk about on an average, 70% of the content of gases is water vapor. Then there is carbon dioxide, which is about 15%. Then there is nitrogen, which is about 5%. Then there is sulfur compounds, which are again 5%, and then there are others. So this is the composition, general composition which is coming out during the process of degassing. Okay. So what is believed that initially as the earth was very hot, what would have happened? There would have been formation of a thin crust. So with the formation of the thin crust, you can understand, क्योंकि अगर ये बहुत hot था, सबसे fast cooling कहाँ पर होगा? On the surface. So this fast cooling would have led to formation of a thin crust. And if you talk about this thin crust, it would be essentially, that means, made up of rocks. Rocks are poor conductor of heat, and as they are poor conductor of heat, that means what would have happened? There would have been trapping of heat inside the earth. Large amount of heat would have been trapped. Earth would have tried to cool itself down through what? By making several fractures in this crust. So whenever such fractures will be there, what will be formed? Magma will come out and there will be formation of volcanoes. So several such volcanic episodes would have occurred if you talk about from the earth. So this phenomena is what we are calling it as the phenomena of degassing. Okay? So there would have been the phenomena of degassing. Now as this phenomena of degassing would have occurred, you can understand what would be taking place. Can I say, here we can see that there is large amount of water vapor. Okay? So from this water vapor, or this water vapor would have risen, become cooler, and it would have led to formation of clouds. So as it becomes cooler, condensation would occur and there would be formation of clouds. It is believed that large amount of cloudiness would have occurred in this period. And with the formation of clouds, can I say there will be precipitation? There would be precipitation. So precipitation would have occurred from these clouds. And it is believed that this precipitation would have occurred for millions of years. ठीक है? ऐसा भी हुआ होगा, it would have happened that this falling rain droplets, they wouldn't have even reached the earth's surface and they would have again re-evaporated, because at that time the earth's surface was still very hot. But this process would have continued, this cycle of condensation, cloud formation, precipitation, it would have continued. In fact, it would have helped the earth's surface to also cool down. And this water ultimately fell and resulted in formation of our oceans. It resulted in the formation of the oceans. Okay? So the secondary atmosphere, the second atmosphere, it was result of what? It was result of the phenomena of degassing. So this degassing led to formation of the second atmosphere. ठीक है? अब अगर हम आज का एटमॉस्फेयर देखें, which is the most important gas which is found? It is nitrogen is the most important gas we are finding. Second most important gas is oxygen. ठीक है? Nitrogen is around 78%. ठीक है? Oxygen, if you talk about, almost 21% is oxygen. Then there is, third is argon. Then there is carbon dioxide. So the present composition of the atmosphere, we find, can we say it is drastically different from the second atmosphere? Yes or no? So this second atmosphere also underwent some physical and biological changes. Okay? It underwent changes due to physical and biological processes, which has led to the formation of the third atmosphere, the present atmosphere. Okay? So the second atmosphere also changed due to some physical and biological processes, leading to development of the third or the present atmosphere. Third, or the present atmosphere. So what would have been these changes? Number one, tell me, as the precipitation occurred for millions of years, can I say this would have removed much of water vapor and also carbon dioxide? Do we know that carbon dioxide is soluble in water? Okay, so it would have removed much of water vapor as well as carbon dioxide, CO2. This is the reason we find. तो वाटर वेपर के साथ क्या हुआ? Water vapor converted to water, which is present today where? In the oceans. And we also know that the oceans contain 60 times more CO2 than the atmosphere. They contain 60 times more carbon dioxide than the atmosphere. In fact, बाद में देखेंगे oceanography में, as we go deeper into the oceans, the concentration of carbon dioxide increases. ठीक है? So that is one. So can we say large amount of carbon dioxide would have been removed in this manner, in this fashion? But it still does not explains why nitrogen will become the most important gas. Okay, still carbon dioxide should have been the most important gas in the atmosphere. So, and where oxygen comes from, because we find that in the process of degassing hardly there is oxygen. Even if it is coming, it is in traces, very small amounts. So that couldn't have been the reason. So second, if you talk about very important phenomena, was the evolution of species. And this evolution of species led to species like green plants. And what these green plants are doing? Phenomena of photosynthesis. So through the phenomena of photosynthesis, can we say they would remove carbon dioxide, more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and in turn add oxygen? So it led to removal of more CO2 from the atmosphere and addition of oxygen. So इस तरह से what we are finding that there was the present atmosphere was essentially formed. ठीक है, argon etc. they have come from the degassing process. So this is how essentially it has been formed. In fact, sulfur compounds were also removed with the rain. You can understand, you must have heard about acid rain. ठीक है, so sulfur and its compound were also removed in the same fashion as CO2 was removed. And like this, the present atmosphere has come into being. ठीक है, can I say in the contemporary Anthropocene are the human beings leading to further changes in the atmosphere? ठीक है, humans are leading to further changes in the atmosphere. can we say this change is most perceptible where? In the urban areas? Yes or no? It is most perceptible in the urban areas. Globally also we find some changes in composition has taken place, like we will see the increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases has occurred. Okay, so we are changing it. So can we say there is slowly emergence of a fourth atmosphere? Okay, so slowly there is emergence or evolution of the fourth atmosphere taking place. ठीक है, so this is how the origin of atmosphere has taken place. यहाँ पर एक और चीज लिखी हुई है, गायाज हाइपोथेसिस, ये भी बता देता हूँ जस्ट फास्ट. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड डार्विन के बारे में सुना है, इवोल्यूशन थ्योरी ऑफ डार्विन. Darwin evolution theory is too simplistic. It is one of the criticism of his theory, and it is too one-sided. What it says that the species, they are affected by the changes which are taking place in the environment, as a result of which they adapt to these changes. In this adaptation, what happens? They evolve. So there is evolution of the species taking place. That means in Darwin's theory, the idea is that environment is affecting the species. Okay, so this is the basic idea of Darwin's evolution theory. In real world, we will be finding that the relationships are not this much simple. They are dialectic. Two-way relationships are existing in reality. And if we look into the species and environment relationship, this is true. So this idea came to be known as Gaia's theory. ठीक है, तो Gaia's hypothesis या theory क्या कहता है? Since the time the species have been born on the surface of the earth, they have led to changes in the environment. ठीक है, so think about, first the species were probiotic species, probiotic bacteria in fact थे, and these probiotic bacteria उन्होंने क्या किया? They used to perform photosynthesis, and as a result of which what they did, they began to add oxygen. They were born in water bodies. ठीक है, so ultimately they made the water bodies so much rich in oxygen that they couldn't themselves survive. So what they had to do? They had to evolve into eukaryote bacteria. And from eukaryote bacteria, what has taken place? There is today the emergence of all the species has taken place. You can understand, अभी हमने देखा, did the emergence of green plants, did it made the earth more habitable? It clearly made the earth more habitable. So since the time the species have been born, they have led to changes in the environment at very large scale. ठीक है, so can I say, we can assume that the human beings, what they are doing today, we are calling ourselves as superior species. ठीक है, we are calling ourselves as the most superior species which has been created on the surface of the earth. But can we say कि we are deluded? It is a delusional idea, because since the time species have been born, they have led to changes in the environment. Why we are calling ourselves as superior species? Can we say because we are able to make changes in the environment at very large scale? We are able to control many aspects of the environment. Okay, but again it is a delusional thought, because since the time species have been born, there has been, if you talk about changes in the atmosphere, and even at very large scale, you can see पूरा का पूरा atmosphere change हो गया. ठीक है, So, in fact, this feeling of superiority, tell me, can we say it is unwarranted? And can it actually become the cause of our downfall? Cause of our, in fact, extinction? We have to understand extinction. For example, biogeography में देखेंगे, extinction is a rule. It happens with all the species. They become extinct. Average mammalian species, they become extinct in about 5 million years. And we are thinking that we'll be able to evade this because we are superior species. In fact, in this superiority, tell me, are we bringing such type of changes which can actually shorten this period of extinction? Obviously, yes. Okay. So this is essentially Gaia's hypothesis. Okay. So स्क्रीन ने भी बोल दिया कि बंद करो बस. So we'll stop for today. The topic will continue tomorrow with the general topics, composition, structure of atmosphere, and hopefully you enjoyed the lecture. As I said, take climatology very seriously because this is going to be your key for paper 1, section A. This is one of the keys. Okay, goodbye, take care.